Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to be off work. Today was the first day I had to actually wear a mask at work. So I'm glad to have, not to this point. So today was the first day that we actually got them in and had to wear them. And I'm kind of glad that it's off because I do feel like I can breathe now. I don't, getting used to that. And who knows how long we'll have to wear those, but everything's been going pretty good. Staying really busy for sure.
Okay, so sorry guys, I forgot to turn on my mic. So they're just now hearing me, Tim. Up to this point, they did not hear me.
Reboot.
Yeah, I had to kind of had to reboot here, but that's what I get for not turning on my microphone, I guess. So again, guys, welcome to live show episode 39 for May 2020. So obviously, my name is Jonathan Leung, and I'm sorry you couldn't hear the intro earlier. So hopefully, oh, hang on, they're saying they still can't hear us. I've got the mic on, and I see the audio, guys. Can you not hear me still? Let's see. I don't know. Maybe we're having technical difficulties, Tim. I see the audio here. Anybody? Testing 1, 2, 3. No. I don't know.
No.
Oh, there he is. I'm getting it. There he is now. Sorry. Okay, I think we have it now. Okay, it took a while. Okay, technical difficulties. Oh, Tim's off to the side now. What was that? Oh, now check your phone. Oh, can you hear me? There you go. Well, the funny thing is that you and me could hear each other, but I didn't have the mic turned on for me. They could hear you, but they could not hear me. So I think we're all good.
Okay.
So we're going to continue on here as we go. So again, guys, welcome to live show episode 39 for May 2020. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today is Mr. Tim Peterson, Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself. There we go. Okay, Tim. So obviously we already heard how you're doing. Now, a lot of people may not realize that you did switch over from Mr. Gaze to Dairy Queen now. So how's Dairy Queen been working out for you?
It's been good because it's been really busy, especially with the drive-through and stuff. And but it's been a different change, no video games, no arcade games. I miss some of the entertainment parts of it, and I miss pizza a lot because I happen to like it. But I also like ice cream, so it's a good trade-off.
There you go. All the blizzards you can eat. Is that how it goes?
I wish. I'd be in trouble if that was the case.
There you go. Well, we're glad to hear that things are going well for you. Now, guys, we do want to remind you that you can interact with us during the show by leaving us a message in the live chat, your questions, your comments, or whatever you have for us. We'll be happy to take those as we go. Tim, we have a lively live chat that was good enough to let me know that they couldn't hear me, which is good. But we've got Rusty is here, who is half of the question and answer podcast duo, along with Eric. That's really awesome. Glad to have you here, Rusty. YouTube Punk is here. Greg is here. Tim, and then we got the real Hammer Billy Lee is here. Jason Steverson's here. Luis Cortez is here. Seahorses at Night is here. The whole gang is here, Tim, for live show episode 39. So we're looking forward to answering some questions. Now, Tim, you're wearing a shirt that we bought in order to support some arcades, correct?
Yes. Can you see it? Let me put.
I was about to say, you may have to stand up a little bit. There we go. Pixel Blast Arcade, correct?
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's one of the ones that we purchased. And I am wearing another one of the ones that we purchased in order to help arcades that are struggling right now. And that is Arcade Galactic, which is owned by Adam, who is the same Adam that runs ArcadeHeroes.com, Tim. So we bought these shirts, of course, to help out arcades. And so if you know of arcades that are struggling right now, we do encourage you to buy some merch or gift cards or some other things. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But just want to remind you guys that there's a lot of arcades that are hurting. So make sure you can help them out if you can. So, YouTube Punk says, back in the day, my DQ had at least 2 arcade games. That is correct. Tim, I believe some of the games that I have actually came from a Dairy Queen. If you remember that bulk buy I did, a guy here local had several games that he bought from Dairy Queen. You remember that?
I remember that.
So yeah, Dairy Queens used to have more games. It was something, that something that obviously has gone out. I guess with the '90s, I guess is when they started to really phase it out. But it was a part, and maybe Tim, you can bring it back. So
Yeah, I need to at least put a couple games in there and make some extra money.
there you go. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Tim, I'm not seeing any questions in the live chat at this point, but we'll go ahead and move on with some of the questions that we got. Oh, Rexer Show's here too. I see him. All sorts of people, Tim. Like I said, we got a lively live chat tonight, so we're looking forward to having a great show with you guys here. So let's go ahead and move into our questions. And the first one, Tim, we have is from Ethan. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. And Ethan says, "Hello, I was hoping you might be able to help me figure out how to repair my vintage Miss Pac-Man arcade. I want to be clear that except for changing fuses a couple of times and replacing the frayed plug when I originally purchased it, I have not touched or moved anything else in the cabinet. It appears as I bought it 5 years ago on eBay. Up until the moment I plugged it into the ungrounded socket, it worked perfectly. Now I just have a black screen and occasionally it hums. Sadly, I don't possess enough personal knowledge of how to repair these machines to deduce what it could be." Now, Tim, I think he goes on here. "I have checked to make sure all the fuses are working and even had a local computer guy check it out about a year ago, but he had no idea what was wrong with it. The machine did come with a manual that I spent hours combing through, but I just can't comprehend enough of the specifics to use it properly. After the ungrounded plug-in incident, the screen was black with no sound. When I turned it on a week later, it had striped lines on the screen and no sound. Then a couple of days later, I turned it on and it was working perfectly with sound. While I was playing it, it suddenly stopped and hasn't worked since. When I plug it in now, I can even hear a hum. I don't know if any of this helps. I just love this machine so much and it's killing me that I can't figure out how to get it fixed. Plus, I live in a semi-remote area or location, so there are limited options to find someone locally with the ability to fix it. So anything you might be able to do, suggest, etc. would be of great appreciation to me. Thank you." So, Tim, we've got Ethan here who wrote a lot here about his Miss Pac-Man, but he's obviously really upset that it's no longer working, and so he's wondering what he can do to fix it. Now, Tim, before we get on to answering the question, I do want to show these photos that he sent. And so, Tim, these were two of the photos that Ethan sent, and probably the two that I think were the best of the bunch that kind of showed us what was going on. And you'll see here, it looks like his daughter card may be missing its ribbon cable. And so...
yeah, that's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and throw that to you. Tim, what do you think is going on here with Ethan's Miss Pac-Man?
Well, if it is an original Miss Pac-Man board, you got the main Pac-Man old school board that connects to a daughter card via ribbon cable that enables it or turns it into kind of a Miss Pac-Man. And it looks like his is unplugged. You can see that ribbon cable dangling in the picture. So hopefully he can just reattach that ribbon cable. I know there are plenty of, you could just video images of Google images of a Miss Pac-Man board, and he would see that that ribbon cable plugged up, and that may solve his issue. Another thing, he needs to check his voltages. If it's original Pac-Man, it takes the AC voltage, it doesn't convert it to DC until on the board, so he needs to make sure his voltages are correct. But especially these older style Pac-Mans, all of them, you check your where the connector goes on the board. We've had a lot of issues. You remember we've probably one behind you, where you kind of wiggle the thing and it'll come on or work, or not getting a good connection there. Those are kind of notorious for that. But that immediately looking at that ribbon cable being disconnected was the first thing that caught my attention.
Yeah, and that's the main reason I shared those pictures. Ethan sent a lot of pictures to his credit, but those were the only ones that I saw that really spotted something that may have been out of place. Now, Tim, obviously, we're talking about the harness connector is what we're talking about. And Tim, as you know, when you're feeding AC voltage to those, sometimes those pins on the board get fried a little bit. And, they've got the pack mend kits that you can get, and they've got other ways to fix that. But it's very common for those pins at the harness connector to get damaged because of the amount of voltage that's going through them. And so definitely want to check your voltages all the way around here, Ethan, to make sure that everything is working properly. So check the AC going into the board, make sure it's getting there, and then check the DC on the board as well to make sure you're getting that. Tim, anything else before we move on with the next question?
No, I don't think so.
There you go. Now, Rusty also said in the live chat that he needs to check the fuse block, and obviously that's a really good place as well. I mean, anything in that power supply section is probably what we're leaning towards at this point, right, Tim?
Right, yeah, just because you replace the fuses, everybody, well, I say everybody, we all know there's a common problem when you got the hum of that fuse block. And so might be a good chance to go ahead and replace that. Sometimes you think the fuse is in there, but it's really not making a good connection, or it didn't go in the clip all the way. And even by just replacing all the fuses, he could have accidentally had one that's not connecting very good.
Exactly. So definitely need to double check that as well, Ethan. So Ethan, like we mentioned, make sure that daughter card is hooked up. That's a big deal. Tim, you'll notice in that picture too, I think it was the 2-bits daughter card. It was not an original daughter card, which I found very interesting. I don't know if I've actually worked with one of those or seen one, but I mean, I'm sure it works just like anything else. 2-bit stuff tends to be really good, right?
Well, either that or it may not need a daughter card. I couldn't really tell from the pictures. They may have done something on the board and just left the ribbon cable dangling for whatever reason.
True.
But it doesn't have a daughter card.
I was about to say, but the fact that they have a ribbon cable dangling and then the ribbon cable connector on the daughter card is disconnected, it's kind of a big giveaway. I would think that if they had used the modded, if they had modded the board to not use the daughter card, that they wouldn't have left the ribbon cable on there. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like that would have been the case. So definitely, I think he should connect it back up, even if it is already been modded to not use it. I still think it needs to probably be hooked up at this point. So, anything else for Ethan?
All right. No thanks.
Sounds good. So, Ethan, hopefully that answers your question. And good. Actually, did I show? I'm going to go ahead and show the slide. I don't think I did that real quick. So let me show the slide. From your pictures, it looks like the ribbon cable that goes from your main Ms. Pac-Man board to your daughter card has been disconnected. Try reattaching this ribbon cable to your daughter card and see if it helps your issue. Also, make sure that your board is getting the correct voltage. Pac-Man boards take AC voltage and convert to DC on the board. Check to see if your AC voltage is getting to the board from the transformer, and it is converting it to the correct DC voltage. Now, Tim, of course, if you don't trust the AC to DC conversion on the board, you could always just go ahead and put a switching power supply in there as well, correct?
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
in fact, we recommended a lot on Miss Pac-Man games.
Absolutely. So if you don't want to mess with all that, it may be worth. Now, you'll need to make sure that your harness pins are in good shape in order to accomplish that, but you may just be better off hooking up a standard switching power supply in there, which may help you get it working as well, Ethan. So, Ethan, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting that Miss Pac-Man back up and running. And Tim, the fact that it's working intermittently probably means that it is like either a connection or maybe something that he or maybe a low voltage issue or something like that should be solvable, correct?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've worked on one where the connector goes down. Just even reconnecting it or wiggling it a little bit, a lot of times they're not making good connection any longer. And there's some other fixes for that, but that can at least troubleshoot to where the problem is. We do highly recommend the Pac-Man kit.
Absolutely.
If that's the case.
Yeah, sounds good. So hopefully that answers your question, Ethan, and good luck with getting that Miss Pac-Man back up and running. Oh, okay, got a couple of things here. Jason Steverson says Taco Bueno in Louisville, Texas had a lot of games in the 80s. So it wasn't just Dairy Queens, Tim.
Yeah, I think every 7-Eleven, there were games everywhere.
Absolutely. And, Tim, I don't know if you noticed, around here we're actually getting a couple of 7-Elevens. We have not had 7-Elevens here ever, and there's a couple that are being built around here. So you'll be able to get your, whatever kind of... what?
The Slurpee.
Yeah, you get your Slurpees and all that kind of stuff, so... But anyway, but yeah, I remember them back at 7-Eleven. I remember I lived in the Dallas area for a short time, and you'd always see games there. So, hey, they can make a comeback. You never know. So...
the first time I ever played Pac-Man was in a Safeway grocery store.
There you go. Probably the first time I ever played Marvel Superheroes was in a grocery store, Tim. So it's just amazing where games pop up. The first time I played Mortal Kombat was in a Walmart.
Okay.
So I think, you know how Walmart had that little entryway before you went to the main store? You kind of had like the double doors. I remember in that double door section, they would put games in there. And I remember the first time I played Mortal Kombat was in that double door section. So... But YouTube Punk also sent in his donation, Tim. So we want to thank you, YouTube Punk, for donating. We always appreciate it. So we'll definitely put that money to good use. And I do want to mention that, Tim, on the last live show, we mentioned that we would donate all of the money that we got to an organization. And Tim, we donated that to a nonprofit clinic here locally. So all of the money we got from the last live show got donated there. Hopefully that helps them out. Because people need care, and a lot of the clinics are still providing that care. Either they're doing testing or other things. So, just whatever you're, please support, especially the nonprofit clinics that are trying to help people out during this time. So, I'm checking the live chat here again, Tim, and let's see. I see. Completely related. Anyone know the color codes to match the red of Neo Geo? Unfortunately, I don't know that off the top of my head. Hopefully, they're out there, Tim. And that is from NIB 03, so NIB 03. But I do not know those offhand. Now, Eric is here, Tim, and he's saying the Safeway in Ruston. Do you remember the Safeway in Ruston, Tim?
Yes, that's one I played Pac-Man
there
at.
You go. So, obviously they used to be everywhere, Tim, and we just don't have quite the proliferation that we used to. So it's sad, but it is what it is. So, okay, Tim, let us continue on here. Our next question is from Josh, and Josh says, "Guys, I was hoping you could look at this photo of my screen test on my Neo Geo cabinet. As you can see, mostly in the upper portion, there is an offset reddish shadow beside the normal white lines. My question is, would this most likely be an aging cap issue somewhere on the monitor chassis, or could this be a monitor pot that needs adjusting to bring back into spec? I am not too familiar with what various monitor pots are able to adjust, so I didn't want to just start changing things willy-nilly without some feedback. Thanks, Josh." So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and show the pictures here, and I know you see those pictures, but you can see in that picture the little reddish offset. Now, it seems like it's only in that corner and maybe at the top of the monitor, but not so much in the middle of the screen. So, with that in mind, Tim, what do you think's going on with Josh's Neo Geo monitor here?
It looks more like the Convergence has gotten off, maybe like he's messed with the yoke a little bit, or just from moving it, or something like that. It just looks like the Convergence is off a little bit to me, not necessarily a cap issue, not something that he could replace, or, not something you're probably going to typically. Most of the time, if your red is going out, it's all over the screen, not just in a corner or something like that. And the way that the picture looks, Eric and Rusty are welcome to chime in, but to me it looks more like a Convergence, like something's got off with his rings, and we have a couple of those on that.
Right, and typically, Tim, I think if it was more of an adjustment issue, we would see the red bleeding kind of across the monitor, but the fact that we're not getting the red bleeding all the way across the monitor probably lends us more to like a Convergence or maybe even a yoke positioning issue. And so with that in mind, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw the question up here.
Yeah, always.
What was that, Tim?
I've used the example before. If it looks like the flash going by, and it's kind of bleeding out that way, sometimes I've said that probably can be adjusted when it, looks like the flash drove by or run by.
Right, and this is a little bit different, like I said, because it's more like it's not consistent. The fact that we're only getting it in the upper quadrant, it looks like, is probably the biggest thing that's kind of leading us to more of a Convergence issue. So I'm going to go ahead and read the slide here, Tim. We have it up. From your picture, it doesn't seem like a capacitor or monitor adjustment issue. You could try turning down your red drive and cutoff, but it may make your overall picture quality suffer. It looks more like a problem with the tube, either the purity/convergence settings, Tim, which we call Convergence. Some people call purity. I remember Michael always kind of referred to those as purity. We like to call them Convergence. But, it could be those settings, or it could be the position of the monitor yoke. We have a couple of different posts on our website that deal with this issue. And, Tim, of course, we have the post on adjusting the Convergence rings that also has a video featuring you and you kind of messing with that. But we also have a great document on our page that was written by Ingvar called "Setting Up and Adjusting an Arcade Monitor," Tim, that really has some great information in there. And so, for those of you guys who are interested in that or need a little help with that, I highly recommend that you check out that "Setting Up and Adjusting an Arcade Monitor." Tim, it has an entire section on Convergence and purity that you should really check out. So, Tim, is there anything else here for Josh before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and Eric agrees with us. Yes, convergence, very difficult to fix, but doable. Yeah, you may have to play with it a little bit. Sometimes, you have to shim up the yoke just right in order to get it to position correctly. Sometimes you kind of have to move it just a little bit one way or another in order to get the convergence dialed in. Sometimes you can just adjust the rings and do it, but sometimes you physically have to move the yoke in order to get it to converge properly. So it takes a little bit of playing. Hopefully you can get it figured out, Josh. Any other tips for him, though, Tim, as far as getting that solved?
Well, we always say anytime you mess, mark where you currently are, because sometimes when you go in there and adjust it, you can make things even worse.
Right.
So at least if you mark where they are now, we show a video on this. I know he can go back and watch it, and that way, when you do turn and play with them and try to fix it, and it makes it worse, you can at least get back to where you were. So that's kind of my tip.
Yeah, and
make sure and mark where they
right,
are.
And Eric also said it might require some little magnets around the neck area, and I've seen that on the yoke as well. You may have to get some magnets in there. A lot of times, you can fix this just by shimming it up, but you may have to put the magnets in there as well. So I think that's all we've got, though, here for Josh's question, Tim. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. Josh, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting the convergence problem solved on that Neo Geo arcade monitor. Oh, yeah, YouTube Punk says you can get the magnets on eBay that actually go around like the yoke, the outside yoke area. So if you need to use those, the rings closest to the front are for purity. The ones in the back are for convergence, is what Eric says, and that's maybe why we call them purity and convergence. We always kind of refer to them all as convergence, and I remember Michael used to call them all purity. So obviously, I think they're a mix and match, like Eric's saying. So. Okay, might need a convergence strip. Maybe one fell off. And yeah, that's what I was talking about with the little strips. You may have to put some convergence strips in there in order to get that yoke position just right in order to fix that convergence. That's from Greg. So good stuff there. Okay, so anyway, I hope that answers Josh's question, and good luck with that monitor there. Let us know how it comes out as well. Keep us updated on that post. Okay, Tim, we have Jason next. So we'll go ahead and go to Jason's question here. Jason said, I bought an Arcade Legends at an estate sale. I was told the display screen needs a tube as it does not light up. I got home and there is power on the marquee. When I turn the power off, the screen flickers and goes off. Thank you, Jason. So Tim, he sent a little video, and he also sent this, this little placard of what his arcade actually is. Arcade Legends, of course, is made by Chicago Gaming Company, but he has this little picture here that has the little kind of like what happens whenever you turn it on or turn it off. It kind of blinks this white, and then it kind of goes dark. And so I just wanted to kind of show everybody that. But Tim, obviously having a monitor issue here of some sort, what do you recommend for Jason?
Well, when the screen just flashes for a second, one thing that we like to do is unplug the game board and everything, just turn power on. Your monitor should have a blank screen or a white screen, sometimes a blue screen, whatever. It should show something. Now, if you get nothing there with just straight power going to it, then you probably have a board issue or something, but it sounds more like that possibly the board and the monitor are not connected. They're either the voltage is off on his board and not sending power over the monitor, but the fact that it flickers for a second, there's a couple questions I would like to ask more, like is it playing blind? Can you play the game at all? Or is it sounds like it could just be a connection between the board and the monitor.
Right. So, and Tim, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, the fact that he kind of gets this flash, to me, means that it's getting power, but it may not be getting a signal from the board, like you're mentioning. I mean, because we do get the little flash that it's trying to come on, but we're just not getting any kind of picture from the board. So I think what you suggested as far as the signal goes is very spot on, and then maybe some other stuff too. I'm going to throw this slide up here, Tim, though, that has a little bit more about it. The fact that the screen flickers when the game is powered on could mean that it's not getting a signal from the board, just like you mentioned, Tim. Check that the board is connected to the monitor properly and that it is putting out a video signal. Make sure that the board is getting the correct voltage, as this can also cause video issues. And Tim, you mentioned it too. It could be that the monitor has a power problem of some sort. You need to measure your B+, make sure it's correct. Also, check all components and solder joints in the high voltage section of your monitor chassis. But Tim, the fact that he's actually getting that kind of flash, I mean, to me, a lot of times means that you should be getting power and the power should be correct. Not necessarily, though. Definitely want to check it and make sure that you've got good B+ voltage and good power all the way around that monitor chassis. So Tim, is there anything else here you want to recommend for Jason before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, sounds good. So Jason, hopefully answers your question, and let us know what you come up with. Again, let's check the signal to make sure that we're getting good signal from your main board to your monitor chassis. And then if that signal is good, let's check some of the power supply section components on the main chassis to make sure that it is powered on properly. So hopefully that helps, and keep us updated with your progress. Okay, I'm checking in with the live chat every so often, Tim, so it's not like I'm darting my eyes away from you. It's just that every so often I have to kind of check the live chat.
I'm reading the slides on my phone, so I'm kind of up and down,
Okay,
too.
there you go. But
I can't see what everybody else is seeing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't see the live chat. I can see it, so I have to kind of read it off to you when we see something. But right now I think we're pretty caught up with it, but I did want to check just while we had a little break here. But, Tim, it's been I know a lot of you guys have been sitting at home this whole month, and it's been kind of a struggle for you guys, but we just hope that we can bring a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of education to you guys tonight through the live show. I know me and Tim have been busy still working, but a lot of you guys have been at home working or doing other things, and, just glad that you took the time to join us tonight, as always, right, Tim?
Yeah.
There you go. So, okay, we got a question from Joe here. When the coin cell type of battery dies, it messes up the BIOS, and I think he's talking about the Arcade Legends, Tim. That is correct. The Arcade Legends ones.
Oh yeah.
Real common. Exactly, if that BIOS battery or CMOS battery dies, it will affect the BIOS settings, and so you will sometimes have to get in with a regular computer monitor in order to reset those back. And that's another thought. Tim didn't even think about that. So Joe, thank you for chiming in on that as well, because those things are basically just computers, right, Tim?
Right, and we've worked on a couple of them, Jonathan, and every one that we've have come across has had that problem.
Yeah.
Because people don't change the batteries and they leave it off, and 6 months later they have some friends over and they decide to turn it back on. The last one we worked at was at a lake house. They were never there, maybe a year before they had turned it on.
Right, exactly. So it's just something to keep in mind that CMOS batteries die, guys. So make sure that whenever that happens, replace it, and then you'll have to reset those BIOS settings to get it back. So, okay, let's go ahead and let's see what else we have here. Drew asks, "Hey, a live show. How are you guys holding up?" We're good, like we mentioned, right, Tim?
I think so. Overall, we're pretty blessed, especially compared to some. So we're very thankful to be working.
Absolutely, same here, Tim. So, anyway, let us continue on with the questions for tonight, Tim. And the next one is from Ernesto. And he says, "I was wondering if you know what would cause my monitor to be black and white with horizontal lines moving continuously. I provide a few pictures of my arcade as well." Now, Tim, you'll see this is a Street Fighter II arcade that Ernesto has here, and you will see this bright kind of white screen with the horizontal lines on it, Tim, which is pretty common, and I think we've seen quite a bit. I know what I'm thinking. What are you thinking, though?
Well, you can turn up the brightness so high that it will do that sometimes, but more than likely, it's kind of like the question before us. It's probably not getting a signal from the board. It's just that's just what the monitor looks like when there's no signal going.
Yeah, and Tim, he did actually send some pictures of the board, which I did not put up here, so I'm going to go ahead and put those up now. And Tim, it looks like this may be some sort of generic multi-board. So it's got these, it's got kind of these, the dip switches on it and everything like this. And so it does look like some sort of, like I said, some sort of just generic board kind of thing. And so, these things, Tim, like these generic multi-game boards, we've talked about in the past, they're not always built with the best quality. And so sometimes you have to, they'll die on you. It's not uncommon for that to happen, and when they do, a lot of times it's easier just to replace them. But in this particular case, it may not be the board, though. It could be the power supply, correct?
Yeah, it could be, for sure. It could not be getting enough power to produce a signal out to his monitor.
So, it could be the board itself here, Ernesto, or it could just be that the power supply is not putting out enough power for the board. So it could be either one. It's really hard to tell, but that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at the fact that your monitor is on, but you're not getting a signal from your board, though. It's pretty much what we've determined at this point. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and put up the little answer scene that we have here. And it says, "From your pictures, it looks like the monitor is not getting a signal from your game board. This could be caused by the board not getting the correct voltage to function properly, a bad connection between the board and the monitor chassis, or that your board has gone out completely. Start off this repair by checking your power supply." And Tim, somebody in the live chat, the last one, said ASAP. always start at power. That's
Yeah,
something that we always
that's
we
right.
talk about a lot. And starting at power, Ernesto, is always a great place to start. So, try that. Let's make sure that your power supply, your switching power supply, is putting out good power. I mean, because that's very, very important. If your power supply is not putting out good power, your board will not operate correctly, and it's not uncommon for you to get, like, no signal, for instance, just because of that. So make sure that you've got good power. Also, check the connection between your game board and your monitor chassis. Very important there as well. Tim, anything else for Ernesto here before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Sounds good. So Ernesto, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that Street Fighter 2 back up and running. And Tim, like I said, it looked more like a multi-game board on this one, so it may not be a Street Fighter 2 in the traditional sense. It may be more of a multi-game board. And if the board is bad, Ernesto, the nice thing is that you can find other boards out there fairly easily, other multi-game boards. So. Okay, Tim, I'm going to go to the live chat real quick. Luis says, where do we submit questions to? Cannot type my full question here on the live chat. I have a question about my bar top arcade. You can send questions to questions@arcaderepairtips.com. That is our email address, Luis. So if you can't fit it in all the characters that we have here, send the question to questions@arcaderepairtips.com and we will get it there. So great place to go. Let's see. And Drew also says, I've had good luck with contacting their Facebook page. There's a link below. Yeah, and we want to thank Louie and Mark for answering a lot of those questions, especially Louie. He answers a lot of the questions before we even get around to them, Tim. So thank you, Louie. And Louie's in the live chat tonight. Thank you for posting some links as well, Louie. And we just appreciate him so much, Tim, and all of the work that he does on the Facebook page. Let's see what else we have. YouTube Punk. eBay seller with the Convergence strips doesn't have them listed anymore, but if you email them, they'll respond. Store name is Parted Magic. Parted Magic on eBay if you're looking for Convergence strips. So there you go. Let's see. Hello from the Buckeye State. This is Mr. Silverball Mania. Anyone know where I can find a flowchart for a WG 2700 and a Pintranic 1132? Unfortunately, Tim, there are not flowcharts for every monitor model, right?
No, but somebody probably has them. I haven't. We'd have to search that. I know they may be in some of the Big Blue Book or something.
Right. I was going to say the 2700 series, I believe, has a nice... It doesn't have a flowchart per se, but I think it has a nice troubleshooting guide out there, if I remember correctly. So, Mr. Silverball Mania, you may look for just a troubleshooting guide on the 2700. Not as familiar with the Pintranic 1132, unfortunately, to know if there's a nice troubleshooting guide out there for it. But I think the 2700 series, Tim, does have a troubleshooting guide that, while not a flowchart per se, will walk you through some of the common issues with it. So, something to go with there. Let's see. Anything else? No? Good. I think we're caught up. So there you go, Tim. Let's see. Oh, YouTube Punk says regarding the Neo Geo color question, Sherwin-Williams Cherry Tomato is apparently one that is a common one. Tim, we're big fans of Sherwin-Williams paints, and we don't get paid anything for saying that. It's just that it's good quality paint, and so if their Cherry Tomato is close to a Neo Geo color, I mean, I'd imagine that it's good quality paint, and even if it's not exact, it should give you a good covering for your cabinet and make it look nice. So, okay, anything else? I think that's it, Tim. So let us go on in our questions here. And the next question we have, Tim, is from Barry. So I'll go ahead and put that up here. He says, I know this will be a simple question, but I am a simple man. We have a fully restored Miss Pac-Man cocktail table model. The kids played it for years with no problem. They are older now, and the game has been played for 5 years. It is kept in a clean and dry part of our living space. When I plug the machine in and turn it on, we have power, the sound is perfect, but the game does not light up. There is no display. Thanks a lot. Hope you are healthy and safe. Barry. So, Tim, obviously the healthy and safe is it's kind of like a mantra now. So you can kind of tell, when the questions come in, as far as the topic goes. Oh, Tim, you're gone. There you are. Sorry, hit the wrong button. You went away there for a second. So, but anyway, for Barry, obviously, Tim, he's got this cocktail, and it sounds like they have power, they can hear sound, but they say the game is not lighting up, there's no display. What's going on with Barry's cocktail cabinet here?
Well, it sounds like a classic or textbook example of what we call a game playing blind.
Absolutely.
And we have a video that you should watch called Troubleshooting Games That Are Playing Blind. But basically, just from sitting there over the years, a lot of the capacitors and things dry up. There's something wrong in the power supply section. Unless something's come unplugged, like power to his monitor, or the connections, or the video connections, or something, more than likely it's time now to rebuild that chassis to get his game back up and going.
Absolutely, Tim. And this is almost a classic case of playing blind here, Tim. And so that's what I put on the slide. So let's go ahead and show that slide real quick so people can see. So it sounds like your Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet is experiencing a symptom known as playing blind. When the arcade cabinet is experiencing this issue, it usually means there is a problem with the monitor chassis. Typically in the power supply section. Please see our post, like Tim mentioned, on troubleshooting games that are playing blind for more information. If you need additional assistance with your specific monitor, please send the manufacturer model and we'll try to help you out further. And Tim, if he needs help determining what his manufacturer and model is, he can see the What's My Monitor page on the Bob Roberts site. And Tim, there are a couple of other websites out there now that'll help you identify what monitor you have. But we always refer to the Bob Roberts page just because it's been around for so long and it's got most of the common models on it. So if you need additional help, Barry, get with us on that. Let us know your make and model. We can help you out further. Tim, anything else for Barry before we move on?
No, I don't think so. Just make sure you watch that video. We won't go into a lot of detail here because that's one of our most popular videos, and for good reason. It's a common problem.
Absolutely. And Louis actually posted a link in the live chat, Tim, so that way everybody can see it. But if you just do a search for troubleshooting games that are playing blind on Google, you will find it. So that's one way to find it. But Barry, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting your Miss Pac-Man cocktail back up and running. Okay, Tim, it looks like we're kind of getting to the end of our questions, and we have kind of this last slide that has, we always like to do kind of like a, what do you want to call it, like a collection of questions for the last slide lately. Some questions from YouTube.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire, there you go. More of a rapid fire style. So, Tim, we have 3 questions here from YouTube, and so let's get into those and see if we can solve them real quick. The first one is from Muskie MCG, and he says, "Hi, buddy. I have a 30-year-old cabinet, and I'm having trouble taking out the push buttons. I can take out the micro switch, but I can't get the lock nut past the micro switch holder. I have tried squeezing and twisting with no luck. Any tips, amigo? Greetings from Ireland, Tim." Yeah, nice. Ireland of all places. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
It probably is.
Yeah, I think
there.
It is. I think you may be right. So, Tim, it just goes to show you we have viewers, listeners and readers from all over the world. So, obviously, Muskie MCG is here and having some problems with his cabinet, and so we're going to tackle his question here in just a second. But let me read the other 2 real quick. Let's see, Greg. I have a cocktail arcade table with 60 games that has sound, but the monitor is black. Sometimes it comes on, but not at the moment. I can't get anything but sound. Can you help? So, Tim, very similar to the Miss Pac-Man cocktail kind of that question that we had just a second ago. And then, Tim, we also have a Way of the Wicked. He says, "Hey, when I move my joystick to the right, sometimes nothing happens. Other times, moving to the left will result in a double tap in the game. Player will start to run left by only one single move on the switch, and sometimes there is no action at all. Any ideas, pal? Cheers." Okay, so those are the 3, Tim, that we're going to answer here, and not exactly rapid fire, I would say, but in a very quick fashion. So, Tim, let's look at Muskie MCG's first. We have a 3-year-old cabinet, and Tim, he's smart here. He took out the micro switch, but when he's trying to undo the lock nut on the push button, he just can't get it past the micro switch holder. So the part that actually holds the micro switch in. So with that in mind, Tim, what do you think is going on with Muskie MCG's push button?
Well, we've taken out a few push buttons in our time, and every once in a while, you just run across that one. I don't know if it's a certain brand. I feel like it's, those little puzzles that you buy at, like, Cracker Barrel, where you have to turn the certain way to get it to come undone. There are a few like that where you really have to get it at just the right angle to slip it off. But I've done exactly what I'm going to recommend. It's a push button. Right. I have taken a Dremel or something and literally sawed that nut off before, take a chunk of it out, let it fall out, and just replace it. Sometimes that is the best method, and probably what I'm going to recommend. If you can't twist it off for whatever reason, I have run across that a couple times out of thousands that I've done. Just cut it off and get rid of it, or cut the push button and replace
There
it.
you go. Sounds good. Now, Tim, the next one we had was from Greg, his 60-in-1 with the black monitor, but does get sound. Monitor comes on sometimes, not all the times. What do you think? What do you think's happening with Greg's?
Well, what's a little bit different from this one and the question we answered earlier is that sometimes
Right.
it works. So that's kind of good news. And the good news is that a lot of times it's just a cold solder joint or something where the power or the video comes in. Remember, we talk about this a lot in our videos with Michael. He touched up solder on everything we ever brought him to work on. He would turn it over and just start touching up the solder everywhere. And so, obviously, over time, we have cracked and cold solder joints that can cause this. That's what I would recommend in this situation.
Sounds good. And Tim, the last one is from Weight of the Wicked. Okay, sometimes his joystick, he moves right, nothing happens. He moves to the left. Sometimes it's a single, sometimes it's a double tap. So, I mean, what do you think's going on? I mean, with his joystick, obviously having some joystick issues, right, Tim?
Yeah, it's probably the leaf style switches that, they just get kind of worn, oxidized over time, or they're not touching like they should, or if it's a cherry switch, it's worn and needs to be replaced. But the good news is replacing leaf and cherry switches are pretty simple based on whichever kind he has. That's probably, you can try to adjust that a little bit, but a lot of times it's just as easy to go ahead as time to replace them.
Absolutely, Tim. So, with all those questions kind of gone over by Tim really quickly, let's go ahead and throw up our scene here, Tim. And you mentioned on Muskie MCGs that he can remove the lock nut by cutting it out or cutting a chunk of it out with like a Dremel or something, I think is what you said, right, Tim? And then he can replace it with a new one. He may need to replace the whole button depending on the situation. Tim, he may be able just to replace the lock nut, but he may have to replace the whole thing, right?
More than, just sometimes it's just not worth wrestling
Right.
with.
Just really depends on kind of what's going on in the moment, right? So, like,
Right.
after he cuts it off, I mean, how is that still positioned? Can he find a lock nut that'll fit it and things like that? Greg, and you mentioned with Greg's, Tim, that he needs to pull out the chassis and touch up any cracked, cold, or broken solder joints. And, of course, we're going to refer him to our post on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. But, Tim, the fact that it comes on sometimes and doesn't come on others may just mean that he has just a broken solder joint somewhere, right?
Right.
There you go. And then Way of the Wicked. Check your joystick switches and wiring. And Tim, you mentioned something about it could be leaf switches. If it's leaf switches, you may need to clean them or adjust them. Micro switches, let's say that they're not clicking like they used to. They can be replaced very easily just by unscrewing them, right, Tim?
Yes. Or you could have the kind of, have a, I call it like a diving board. It's not really a leaf switch. Has more of a longer stem on it that can be bent and adjusted a little bit. A lot of times, and you mentioned wiring. I didn't say that, but of course, ground wires or cold wires that aren't cold solder joints there, or wires that aren't connected very good anymore could cause that problem.
Absolutely. So it needs to check the wiring for sure, but the switches themselves could be bad as well, so may need to clean them. Rusty says he uses 1,000 grit emery cloth and cleans the leaf switches. Take a piece, fold it over, put it between the points, and rub a little. And yeah, that's good stuff to use if you need to clean them up for sure, right, Tim?
Yeah, and that's something that you probably easily find on Amazon or something right now too. You don't necessarily have to get it. I know, like certain pinball or arcade sites sell one, but it's really not anything different than you could probably get off of eBay or Amazon or something.
Sounds good. So
may say an arcade tool, but it may not necessarily
right,
be.
exactly. Save yourself some money and just buy it locally, right? Instead of from an arcade website, is what you're saying. So sounds good. Well, I think.
You don't have to.
Yeah, there you go. So sounds good. Well, Tim, I think you covered all those questions, and I did put a picture of what like just a micro switch holder looks like, just so we could see. And Tim, what happens over time is sometimes the little legs that hold the micro switch in, they kind of spread out, I think, just from heat and other things. And so it could just be that whenever they were they've been sitting in the sun for a while, or whatever the case may be, and they may be spreading out just a little bit. So that could be it. But anyway, so Tim, I think that does it for the questions. So I'll just go ahead and leave this here. Now, Tim, we do have a tech tip for this month, and why don't you just go ahead and fill everybody in on something that is kind of new, but I mean, I've seen versions of this over time, but I think this one's a little bit different than some of the other ones that we've seen, right?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and put that slideshow up. They have a new, and occasionally, when we say new, we haven't even tried this yet. So, but we did run across it and thought, oh, it looked pretty cool, and saw some of the reviews and stuff. My tech tip this month is about a new Mcr Power Supply module, which is now available. And if you're showing the picture there, Jonathan, the price is $400, which seems kind of high, but at the same time, it replaces everything power-wise in the MCR base arcade cabinet. And there's a link that you're going to include there. So, a couple of those games, let's see, you're listing some of the games over here. I don't know if I can blow that up on my phone, John. You can go back through
I think
that.
most people are familiar with Tron and Satan's Hollow and Journey, of course, Tapper, Spy Hunter. I think those are the big games that people think of when they think of MCR. So, Satan's Hollow.
Yeah. And wasn't Kick?
No, Kick. That's that's Tato.
Right. Yeah, Tato. Sorry. So the MCR games like Tron. Well, Tron was one I was thinking of. Right, and Satan's Hollow right off the bat. A lot of times those games are also. You look at the list there, are also worth a lot of money. So most people have them, aren't selling them or getting rid of them too fast. So maybe they would want to invest that $400 to kind of help theirs run and more efficient, I guess maybe the best word.
Yeah, and I like, Tim, that it looks like you use like our little coloring and our font from our little outline here, Tim, just based on the little ad that he had on Facebook for it. But this thing basically replaces everything power-wise though in MCR-based arcade cabinets. So if you're having any kind of problems with MCR games, I think this may be a way to go for you. Drew says, does that come pre-assembled on the black board, plastic board? I believe it does. I believe it is just a drop-in module. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I mean, it is literally drop in, hook it up, and you're good to go kind of thing. So again, if you're having problems with with different power issues in MCR games,
I thought it was kind of cool.
What?
It just looks cool. I don't know. I thought it was pretty
I
neat.
thought it looks cool too. And Louis actually put a list of some of the games here. Of course, Two Tigers, Solar Fox, Disc of Tron he puts here as well. So I mean, those are just some of the ones. Wacko I think is on that list too. Maybe Tim, if I can see the very I was about to say the very small font there, but there's a whole list of MCR games. And Louis put the eBay link on there, and the eBay link is a good place to get it from, but you can also get it from this guy directly on Facebook if you want to go that route as well. It's probably about the same price because I'm sure it's the $400 plus shipping, but it's like I said, it's pretty turnkey. You put this thing in and you're good to go. So
if anybody gets one, I would really like to have a review of one of our listeners or somebody can write back, tell us about it.
Absolutely. So, but again, there's always new things coming out, Tim, and new products to help you keep your arcade games running, which I think is great, especially with all these things getting older. I mean, of course, a lot of MCR power supplies are not too difficult to rebuild if that's the way you want to do it. But if you're more inclined to just drop in something and have it work, then I think this is going to be right up your alley, right?
I think so.
There you go. So I think that's a good tech tip, Tim. So hopefully somebody at home will try it out and give us a heads up as to what it is, or how it works for them. So the link is below, I believe, in the show notes section or description section below. So if you guys want to try it out, you can go to the link. And then of course Louis posted the eBay link in there as well. So. Okay, Tim, I think it's time to get to some discussion real quick. So, and Louis says you could build this yourself. That is true. You could build your own version of that if you wanted to, but sometimes it's just nice to have somebody do it for you so you can drop it in. So it just really depends on what you want to do. So. Okay, so Tim, I guess we'll go ahead and get to the discussion portion real quick. And Tim, the very first thing we have here is actually an article that was posted today, this morning. So you know that we're live, right? Because we have the latest stuff on here. We are live, people. But this came...
Breaking
exactly.
News.
This news was breaking news, I guess, in a way. but probably something you couldn't figure out already. But arcades will be different after the pandemic if they can stay open. This was from Vice Media, Tim, and we have the link here and also in the show description below. So if you guys want to take a look at this article, you can. But I'll kind of summarize it here for you. Arcades are dealing with heavy losses and layoffs. Once arcades are given the go-ahead to reopen, business owners will have to approach a new multi-headed problem, re-envisioning the arcade for a post-pandemic world, while also preparing for a potential change in customer mindsets. Now that we're cautioned to stay at least 6 feet away from anyone outside our households, will the public still, or will the people still want to play games together in public? And so that's really what it comes down to here, Tim. And obviously, we've been talking about this quite a bit and how things are going to change for arcades going forward. I think that is something that people need to realize. It's going to be a little bit different. And Tim, you know, some arcades have taken a novel approach to this. One of the arcade owners that's a part of our Facebook page posted a reply saying that what they're doing is they're actually doing blocks of time. So a private group can book a block of time, and then they get it for that block. After the block, they clean it, and there's another block of time that somebody else can do. So, I mean, that may be how we have to go about this for a while. There are some other potential things that may need to happen. But, Tim, maybe the bigger question on all of that is it too soon to open up arcades? I know there's a lot of arcades that are open right now, but it does seem like the people who are open are having a hard time of it because nobody's going there. So right. I thought we would debate this in a little segment we like to call Arcade Debate. Wow, we didn't have one last one, Tim. I don't know if we've had it in a while, in fact. But we are having an arcade.
Can I still get in my box?
Yeah, you'll get in your box. I'll get your box there here in a second. But we are going to have an arcade debate tonight, which is something it feels like we haven't done for a while. I think it was just like, we skipped last one, so it may have just been one. But, Tim, the question we're getting some dog there. But the question tonight on the arcade debate section is it too soon to allow arcades to open back up after the coronavirus closings? Because, Tim, pretty much I think everybody had to close up. I mean, pretty much every state had closings, no matter which state you were in. And so the question we have tonight is it too soon to allow arcades to open back up after the coronavirus closings? And, Tim, I know you can't see the graphic, but I'm just going to go ahead and change it real quick. So, boom, there we go. So now we went from our regular one to the arcade debate one. So you are in your square. You were in your square this whole time, but I at least put the arcade debate graphic down at the bottom. And so we'll go ahead and get started with this. Tim, we'll take a little 5-second break here, and then we'll get into it. Well, thank you guys for joining us for the arcade debate segment for this evening. And Tim, this is May 2020 that we're talking about. And the big question is, arcades, a lot of arcades around the country are starting to open, but do you think it is too soon to allow arcades to open back up after the coronavirus closings, Tim? Obviously, all the arcades in most of the country were closed or have been closed during this time and have been really struggling because of their closings. And so the question is this the time to open them up? Should they wait later? So I'm going to let you decide first. What do you think? Is it too soon to open up arcades, or do we need to get these things open as soon as possible?
No, let them all open.
Yeah, okay, you're all for letting them open. Yep. Okay, well, I will take the opposite of that. I am going to say that they need to probably stay closed at least a little bit longer. But Tim, tell us why you think now is the time to go ahead and open them.
Well, you got to understand, Jonathan, a lot of people have a misconception that we were all staying home to stop the coronavirus. We were staying home to slow down and flatten the curve of the coronavirus. It's not going away. It's going to be here for a while longer. So you just need to wash your hands, take your sanitary wipes with you, wear gloves if you're in a mask if you want to. But just like everything else, we can't sit at home forever. We need to get the arcades up and running, and we need to get some revenue pumped into these arcade owners.
Now, I'm with you with saying that we need to open. I understand that. I do think we need to open. I'm questioning whether or not it's too soon for arcades right now because, Tim, arcades are a little bit different than pretty much any other business model. In an arcade, you touch the same game that like 100 other people touch. I mean, think about a Chuck E. Cheese on a Saturday. How many people do you think touch one arcade game on an average Saturday at Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, at least 200 or 300, but they've been doing that every year now for 50 years. And it's always been a lot of germs around. And Chuck E. did pride themselves in saying that they clean them every hour. My guess is really that, yes, I agree. Some of the stuff that we've done is good. we need to be more proactive in stopping the spread of any virus, like the flu or whatever. But we can't just live in a hole either. We need to get out. If you're really that worried about it, you could take your own. You could take your own wipes or something with you and wipe down the game. Plus, if you're really good at a game, you're going to stay there and play a while. So as long as you clean it before you play, you should be fine.
Right. That's kind of like, when people go to the gym, they don't always clean up after themselves, Tim. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but even though they should. But it's the same thing. I mean, arcade games, I don't know if we can put the responsibility on the people who are playing them. And I think just because arcades are so hands-on that we need to wait longer for arcades than we do maybe for other businesses. And I hate to say that because I know there's a lot of arcades that are kind of obviously struggling right now, having a lot of issues right now. But, I mean, I think we can stand to wait maybe a little bit longer because, like I said, I mean, there's just so much closeness and touch associated with arcade games. I've heard now, though, that there are some arcade games that are going to be spreading their arcade games around in their building, which seems like a really good idea, kind of to promote the social distancing. So if you have one over here, you put some spread out, then I think that's really good. But the touch issue is always kind of going to be an issue, I think, as long as you have multiple people touching. But I mean, I agree that if everybody kind of does their safety stuff and they wipe the games down when they're done with them and they wear the mask or they make sure that they don't touch their face while they're touching the games, all that kind of stuff. If everybody takes the safety precautions that they're supposed to take, I think it'd be fine. The problem is that I don't know if I trust everybody to take the safety precautions that they're supposed to take. Your turn.
Well, that's just it. At what point, though, I think at some point, the benefits of people, it's kind of like this, Jonathan. Let me put it this way. If we outlawed cars tomorrow and nobody drove anymore, there would be zero auto accidents and nobody would die. But we know that some people die every day in an auto accident. So we have rules that try to stifle that, but we don't tell people don't drive.
Sure.
We let them drive cars knowing that there are going to be deaths and there are going to be accidents and people are going to get injured. We have to take that risk. So at some point, we have to say, is the risk of going out and playing games, as long as you're doing precautions, as long as you're staying 6 feet away or more from other people, maybe let's say you're at Chuck E. Cheese and you have 7 skee-ball lanes, maybe only open up one every other one or something so you're not right next to, or maybe a 2-player game, only letting it be 1 player for now. There's going to have to be some changes, but to strictly say you've got to shut down, at some point the revenue lost right now, and I don't ever want to say that money is more important than lives, but if that was the case, we wouldn't drive cars, we wouldn't do anything, we'd all just sit home, live the rest of our lives, and hopefully somebody would pay for it. But we do have to have jobs, we have to get out, we have to do things. We can't stay cooped up forever. I think it's time to let them go.
Well, here's the thing, too, Tim. I think the public will judge when it is time. And so that may be the greatest point to me on your side of the fence is the fact that, let them open and the public will decide whether or not they want to go, right? And so,
right.
Let the public dictate what they want. So if the public wants to, I'll let you open, but the public may not come anyway, right? I think go ahead.
We're seeing some of that now that our lobby is open. Here in Texas, we were just doing drive-thru at Dairy Queen, and we opened up our lobby, but guess what? Nobody still came. Not very many people came, and even though we're only doing it in a limited amount, the problem, Jonathan, is that for years, the business model of most FECs is to get as many people in there as you can. That was how you made the money, is when groups came and stuff. So we're going to have to change up the way we do some business in those retrospects.
Right. And I understand your point. I think it may be a little bit too soon, but I guess we'll see. And like I said, the public can kind of dictate that. But really, what do you say? Is it too soon for arcades to open after the coronavirus closings? Let us know what you think. You can leave a comment here. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can leave a comment in the section below. If you're watching this on Twitter, you can reply back and let us know what you think. But Tim, I think we both agree that eventually we are going to have to open up. The question is just when. So let us know what you think when the right time is, and we look forward to seeing you for our next arcade debate segment. Take care, everybody, and good night. Okay, Tim, I think that was it. So I'll go ahead and switch back over.
I'd really like to hear from Rusty and Eric right now how it was their opinion when it really hits your pocketbook.
Right, exactly. So
easy to judge,
Okay, so YouTube Punk says, I think it's too soon. Texas opened up a few days ago. A few days later, had the highest number of deaths. So that's what YouTube Punk says. Drew says, I think folks will jump right back in as they once did. No different than them touching Netflix or Redbox locations. I mean, like maybe a Redbox location is a good example of something that may be along the lines of an arcade as well. So let's see. YouTube Punk.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
exactly. YouTube Punk says, I'd be very cautious. Rusty says, they wanted to flatten the curve so we can prepare the medical facilities to handle the sick. We are prepared now. Time to reopen all the businesses. Pedro says, sure you are. Drew says, a lot of arcade businesses care about having clean-looking machines, attractive-looking machines. Let's see. Meaning always clean-looking, even before the COVID-19 issues. That's true. Let's see. YouTube Punk, we haven't spiked yet, so I wouldn't risk it. Got family that are in the most vulnerable groups. And that's another thing, Tim. What happens if you open your arcade and then somebody visits your arcade and, like contracts coronavirus? Like what happens? I mean, I think that's something that's very interesting.
I don't think that, just like the flu, I don't think the owner should be liable. You take that risk, and I think, like you said, Jonathan, it's up to you to decide. I may be for arcades opening, and when we do the debate segment, guys, we pick a side. Doesn't necessarily mean I really agree with everything I'm saying or you really agree. I think we're probably me and you are both in the middle, but at the same time, I want them to be open because I know they need the revenue. It's not. I just think we have a fundamentally or even a constitutional right to be open. But at the same time, you have a right to stay home if you don't feel safe. Or I don't know that I would necessarily take my nephews to Chuck E. Cheese next week just because they're open.
Right, exactly. Drew says if they start shutting down arcades, might as well shut down schools and colleges. Well, they really have, haven't they?
Right.
So
that's pretty much what that
exactly.
happens.
Freddie says the chance of getting into a car accident is much lower than getting COVID when you are around 20 plus people close together. So there you go. Rusty says, good night, good job. So I guess he's out for the night. Drew says, thank you for the show. Let's see. YouTube Punk says he'd feel better if there's a vaccine. The problem is that the vaccine is pretty far away, right, Tim?
Well, they keep saying that, yes, I think a vaccine would really help. I think that's the only time people are going to totally feel comfortable. But the death rate is still really, really low compared, and most people just get mild cases. So, I'm really torn. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm glad I'm not making that decision,
exactly.
Honestly. I'm glad I'm not the governor or the president right now.
Let's see. Joe says, Tim's a pretty sharp guy, brings it to a reasonable explanation. Look at that, Tim. Let's see. Jason says 40,000 die in a car wrecks in America every year. That is true. Greg says, ATMs, POS checkouts, etc., all heavy touch. That is true. So if you visit an ATM, right, that's really, no different in a way than an arcade. Except that, like, if you're doing a drive-up ATM, you're kind of still in kind of an open area, I guess, versus, like, being in an enclosed area with arcade games. I think that's maybe a little bit different. Luis says, arcades...
Well, look at...
Go ahead.
Think about a gas pump and how many times you pump gas. Did you wipe everything? I try to remember and wipe the thing, but... Man, think about how many people touched that gas pump just that day.
Right, exactly. Luis says arcades need to change or they will unfortunately disappear, maybe. Rusty says an arcade can provide the hand sanitizer, soap, water, and request no one that is sick or around someone that is sick to come in. Each patron can decide if they want to come in or not. And that, that may be where I fall down the most, Tim, is just let them open and see who comes in. Because, there'll be some people who do and some people who won't. So, Freddie says, let's see... Owner should not be liable, but should be made responsible for taking precautions and make sure people keep their distance. Wash their hands coming in and out. Exactly. Greg says, go ahead.
I think that's one of the biggest problems that I see is who's going to police it. If let's say I still worked at Chuck E. Cheese, am I going to have to sit there and spend all day going, hey, scoot over, you're more than 6 feet, or, oh, that's your sister, well, that's okay. I don't know who's the police that's going to take care of all this.
Exactly.
So we may not be ready to open because, like you said, it's going to be too hard to control.
Right. Greg says, our arcade is reopening on the 15th, but very worried little will show up. Getting wipe stations is out is actually the biggest issue. We can't buy enough. And Tim, you're talking about people wiping down the games, but I don't know about you. I can't find like a bottle of Lysol wipes anywhere, or Clorox wipes anywhere, or hand wipes anywhere. No. And so, and that's the thing. A lot of these arcades, I think, will struggle to find those products as well. Maybe another reason why we may want to wait, so we can let production kind of catch up to demand at this point. So,
but at some point, it's like, really? We're still having trouble here, guys, finding toilet paper. I went to the store the other day. Dollar General was the first time I've seen toilet paper there at all in 2 months, and I actually had a choice between 3 different kinds, and I actually got to get my brand. So, I was really happy I didn't end up with the John Wayne toilet paper.
There you go. Sounds sounds good. I would have loaned you some if you needed it, so...
Well,
I'm not sitting like a gold mine or anything, but I got some extra toilet paper, so.
Anyway, just the fact that there was some at all just blew me away, and there wasn't a lot, so of course I got some.
There you go. Let's see what else we have here. Freddie says the business model has to be updated to account for this. You can't just say it's up to the customer. Freddie says it's a shared responsibility, and that's probably true. Costco wipes the gas pumps after every customer leaves, according to YouTube Punk. I did not realize this. I wear gloves and a mask when making necessary supply runs, which you should do. All of you should be doing, so make sure you are doing that. Greg says, outbid Order Arcade in Auburn. It's a friend of mine, not mine. So Greg is familiar with an arcade there in Auburn that they're using. So let's see. Or Out of Order, excuse me. Anything else? Okay, I think we're caught up there, Tim. So I think it's kind of mixed as to whether or not we should open yet or not. I'm kind of with YouTube Punk here in the fact that he says that there's a lot of. It seems like the cases have really started increasing since we've kind of ordered things to open back up. And Tim, you can debate whether or not we're doing it too slowly or too quickly. It is what it is. Like you said, I'm just glad I don't have to make the decisions. So, but here's the thing: if you think it's too quick,
I really don't know
go ahead.
The correct answer is. I don't know what the correct answer is, but it's just like beauticians and stuff. A lot of them own their own shops, aren't able to get any besides the stimulus check, they're not getting any income. And I feel for people, and if you're in that position, just know our thoughts and prayers are with you. I want people to get to work, but I do want everybody to be safe. So like I said, there has to be a happy medium somewhere. We got to do what's best for people's livelihood and what's best for their health, and I honestly don't know what that answer is.
And Tim, and like I said, I think the biggest point is kind of like what we talked about in the arcade debate. Let the places open and people can decide. If you think it's too soon, stay home.
Don't go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't, go out there. So, it's up to you. Make the best decision according to what you think is right. So, let's see. Tim got his brand of toilet paper. It's the little things, YouTube Punk says. Louise says, maybe arcade owners should demand that customers wear gloves and masks when patronizing their businesses, minimize the risk. They could do that. That's one way to handle it for sure. But again, getting that personal protective equipment may be difficult. Pedro says, the real problem here is not the personal risk that I take when going out, is the risk that I impose to others. And that is true, because a lot of times you may be infected and not know it. So,
right. Also, I have this debate a lot. Gloves only protect one person, the person wearing them. You can spread it all over the place with a pair of gloves on. Doesn't change that. That doesn't keep you from spreading it. It only keeps it from getting on your hand.
Yeah, and Rusty said the same thing, Tim. Gloves don't help. All they do is transport medium from your skin to the gloves, and that is true. And Real Hammer Billy Lee says he agrees with Rusty. Unless you change out the gloves every time you touch something different, they won't help. That's Rusty. Masks are just a fashion statement. So with the mask, I think the biggest thing is that it doesn't necessarily keep you from getting it, but it keeps you from spreading it. And that is the key. So if you may have it and not know it. So if you wear a mask, it keeps you from spreading it. And that's really the thing. And they show that if everyone wears a mask, it does help with you not getting it as well. But if everybody wears a mask, it cuts your chance of getting it down significantly. So,
right. Well, it's kind of like, Jonathan, the best analogy, and I think I could say this in front of the guys, if you had two guys with no clothes on and one of them urinated on the other guy, they would both be wet. If one guy wears pants, which would be like a mask, only he gets wet over here. even though this guy could possibly get a few sprinkles, it's not very likely. But if this guy and this guy both have pants on, only the guy that pees his pants is in trouble. So when it said it like that, it kind of made sense with a mask. So if both people are wearing masks, only person who's sick will stay sick, and hopefully. So I have kind of changed my opinion because I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's like making you do something. And I hated wearing one at work today, but once I kind of got past it, if I'm a carrier and I don't even know it, I certainly don't want to pass it on to any of my friends or coworkers or people or grandparents or any of that. So I'll do it for a while, but I don't know how long.
Absolutely. So there you go. YouTube Punk says, story time with Tim is the best. There you go. So yeah, it was pretty good. So I don't think we'll ever forget the peeing on your pants story there, Tim.
Well, it brings, we can all, I mean, we know what I'm talking about there. It works.
You go. So, Joe says, the arcade I go to has hand sanitizer stations every 20 games or so, but rarely are they used. The problem is that people are just filthy in general. And that was kind of my point, Tim. We can't really leave it to people because people, you can tell them to do stuff, they're not going to do it. So, right. I mean, you can tell them.
Somebody out there thinks bat is good
exactly.
to eat.
That's how we got this whole mess. So right. Let's see. In the end, Tim is right. There must be a middle ground somewhere, and that's from Pedro, Tim. So there you go. And I think we'll just leave it there. I like leaving it with the peeing on your pants story. So we'll just leave it right there and call it done. But Tim, we do want to remind everybody that regardless of whether they're open or not, arcades are hurting. And so I want to put this up here. Please support arcades that have been affected by the shelter-in-place and stay-at-home orders during this difficult time, Tim. And we have a Facebook link here, Tim, that goes to a post where we posted that if you had an arcade that's struggling, please post it here in the comments. And Tim, we just had, tons of comments on that thread of different arcades that are struggling. So we just want to, tell you guys to support as many as you can. So many arcades around the world are struggling due to shelter-in-place and stay-at-home orders that have been issued during the coronavirus pandemic. Please consider supporting these establishments by purchasing t-shirts, gift cards, or other items from them if you have the means. Let's do our part to keep classic arcade gaming alive in our community. And Tim, I put a big logo for the Game Preserve up here. And the Game Preserve is, of course, the arcade that's run by Rusty and Eric, who are both in the live chat tonight, and also do our question and answer podcast. Tim, we bought shirts from them. I got them in the mail just the other day. I bought one for you and one for me, and we also bought one of the shirts came with a free one-day pass as well that we hopefully will get to use at some point. But if you guys want to help out the Game Preserve, you can go to the Game Preserve Houston or GamePreserveHouston.com, which is also in the show links below. So if you guys want to help them out, GamePreserveHouston.com, buy a shirt, buy a gift certificate, buy a Game Pass, buy something to help these guys out. But if you have an arcade close to you that you'd rather support, do that too. I mean, maybe you live right down the street from one that's really hurting. Do what you can to support them as well, Tim. Because if we don't support these arcades, they're not going to be in business whenever we get back to quote-unquote normal, right? And that's what we want to do. So you guys do your part, buy shirts, buy merchandise, if they're a barcade, buy alcohol if that's allowed, buy whatever you can to help these arcades stay in business, because we want these places to be around for a long time. So, and again, a big shout out to Game Preserve, because both our friends Eric and Rusty are there. So GamePreserveHouston.com, get you some merchandise there and help them out. So there you go, Tim. So I'm gonna go ahead. We had a couple of live chat things. Drew says, think about actual hard currency exchanges. Nobody is washing their dollar bills, and that's true too, Tim. I mean, I've been paying with card mostly because of that, and I'm sure you have too. So.
Well, one of my favorite things, John, is the pizza commercial. I won't say what company. But it sounds like Daddy Bill. Anyway, they're saying that they run the pizza through the oven and no human hands touch it after it comes out of the oven. I'm thinking, what were you doing before? Licking it?
That's a good question, Tim. Oh, I've got some updates from Rusty. Rusty says he's making an effort to keep all 12 employees paid. So we're making every effort to keep our 12 employees paid. Please show them. Let's see. And YouTube Punk says, Game Preserve merch. Get your Game Preserve merch. And I gotta say, Rusty, the Dr. Mario shirt that I got for myself that came with the one-day pass is a pretty cool design, and definitely worth checking out. So GamePreserveHouston.com. Let's see. People are peeing in their pants while driving alone in their car. Mean mask. That was from you too, Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that one. I take mine as I'm glad to get mine off as soon as I get in the
Absolutely.
car.
Yeah, I've seen people wearing masks in their cars, Tim. I don't think they realize that they can't catch it from themselves. I don't know. But
Right.
anyway, so that's it. As far
Maybe they got their vent air on.
maybe.
You know, and they're getting outside air in.
Maybe, who knows? But anyway, Tim, let's go ahead and move on to some more news items real quick. Let's see. Oh, YouTube Punk says that what did you call it, Daddy? Daddy who?
Daddy
Bills. Daddy Bills is no longer massaging their pizzas. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. Maybe that's the case. But anyway, Luis says, I use my smartphone to pay for everything nowadays. I do that with a lot of things, Starbucks, for instance. But, you know, there's still places where you have to use a card, Tim, or cash. So, you know, you got to do it sometimes. But anyway.
Well, there's nothing dirtier than money.
No. So I have money that I have a phone soap cleaner, Tim, which I highly recommend. And I'll put my money in the phone soap sometimes. So, good stuff.
Oh.
But Greg says, did you guys hear about, let's see, the arcade sting in Texas? If not, go to Facebook. On Jen May's page, seems someone broke into an old operator's warehouse and was selling their games. They did a sting operation. I did not hear about this, Tim. Did you?
No.
Okay, we're going to have to check
need
that
a
out,
link
Greg.
to
We
that.
will definitely check that out. I was not aware. So, Jen May's Facebook page. There you go. We'll check it out.
Oh,
So,
okay. I know
There you
Jen.
go. But anyway, is this the same Game Preserve from Indy? No, this is the Game Preserve in Houston, Texas, Drew, that you want to check out. GamePreserveHouston.com. GamePreserveHouston.com. So anyway. But speaking of Texas, Tim, I do want to mention that the Texas Pinball Festival 2021 show has been scheduled.
Yay.
So that means they must have gotten enough people buying merch and things to actually put up the collateral for the show, which is awesome. Hopefully the hotel worked some things with them as well on this. But Texas Pinball Festival 2021 is scheduled for March 26th through the 28th, 2021 at the Embassy Hotel and Frisco Convention Center in Frisco, Texas. Excuse me, all purchased 2020 weekend pass holders and vendors will be rolled into 2021. Thank you for everyone who bought merchandise, donated, or helped steer the ship. You saved TPF. You proved that the Texas Pinball Festival is truly your show. And Tim, I hate that we missed it this year, but at least we'll get an opportunity to go next year, hopefully, after all this stuff. But if you guys want to continue to support the Texas Pinball Festival, you can still buy merch from their store at texaspinball.com/TPF/stores. So I'm glad to hear, Tim, that they were able to make it through it, because I think, you know, it was kind of touch and go there for a while as to whether or not they'd even be able to continue doing the Texas Pinball Festival. So,
Wow.
and Rusty says the best pinball show in the world. That is correct. The best pinball show in the world. I think so too. Texas Pinball Festival 2021. Hopefully we'll see all of you guys there. Hopefully it's packed, Tim. So we'll see though.
Yeah, I bet it will be.
Yeah,
You know it will be if this stuff has to be over by then.
I'm hoping so too. Luis says, man, I wish I was in Texas right now. My sister lives down there. Unfortunately, I am in New York. Man, Luis, we feel for you right now. New York has been heavily hit by the coronavirus. Hopefully you and your family are doing well. So, well, Tim, I'm kind of tired about talking about the virus. Is that just me? Okay, yeah, a little bit. Are you feeling it too? So let's just take some lighthearted stories for a minute, okay? How about this one right here, Tim?
Okay.
And you may have been aware of this, but many people were not. This woman's local pizza
Yeah.
delivery actually came from Chuck E. Cheese, in the know. And Tim, this is about Pasquale's Pizza and Wings, which is apparently what Chuck E. Cheese is branding their takeout order business. So I'm going to go ahead and read the description here. A Philadelphia woman is going viral after sharing on Reddit the unethical practice she discovered during what she believed was a run-of-the-mill pizza order. The woman placed her order through Grubhub, selecting a North Philadelphia-based spot called Pasquale's Pizza and Wings, but when the food arrived, the woman and her husband realized something was strange about their pizza. It was actually from Chuck E. Cheese. Now, Tim, you knew this, I'm sure, because you're familiar with Pasquale, right?
Right. He is the pizza chef in the Make Believe band there.
Exactly. So for those people who may not be familiar with that, and Tim, the logo is pretty impressive too, I must say. So it looks like something that would be like a legit Italian style restaurant, and it's amazing. And the other problem apparently with that issue in Philadelphia is that there was another local restaurant named Pasquale's as well that I think the lady was trying to order from. So.
Ah.
Right, so if you read the Reddit, you're actually going to see it, but it's very interesting to hear that. So be careful where you're ordering your pizza from. But here's the deal, Tim, with that said, Chuck E. Cheese pizza, not terrible, right?
No, not for $5.99. It's actually
Yeah, I
pretty
was about to
good.
say.
We actually got some. We got two large pizzas with one topping each. We got some mozzarella sticks, and what else did we get? Oh, two buffalo wings or something. It was like $27. I'm like, you never. Usually, one pizza at Chuck E. Cheese is like 27
Right.
bucks, right?
That's right.
You get no gameplay, but there's some. That's one thing about it. There has been some pretty good deals. Some of our favorite restaurants have thrown on.
Right, and I think Chuck E. Cheese, obviously, Tim, is probably struggling more than most because so much of their revenue is in games, and so they've been offering some crazy takeout deals, like you said, $5 pizzas, $5 wings, and stuff like this. And so, and guys, the food is pretty good for what it is. So, I mean, I'd say take them up on it. Tim, they've run some promotions at our local one where kids eat free on Sundays. So if you order like a pizza, then you get the kids size pizza for free, stuff like that. And so there's a lot of promotions they're trying to do to stay in business right now, but obviously it's tough on them, especially because of the game/food model that they have, right?
Yeah, the only thing I think is hilarious is that they didn't want to spend any money on advertising. So, anyway, if you notice, you went by Chuck E. Cheese, they just spray painted on the building. So it kind of looks like the Walking Dead apocalypse happened, and they were just like hiding inside. You're like, we're alive still or something, is what I expected to say on the windows. But they said like $5.99 pizza and wings.
Now, I know.
Those are some funny images on the web.
I was going to say, now I know. Now, Chuck E. Cheese came out and said that Pasquale's Pizza and Wings is their business. But one of the things they said was that the pizza was different than regular Chuck E. Cheese pizza. Do you know anything about that?
I did notice that, and Mike Page will have to enlighten us. I thought it tasted pretty good. I think that's what they were trying to say, is that we're trying during this time to up our pizza. And I'm like, well, what were you doing before? Just, giving them the high top ingredients or
Right.
what, but evidently they are changed up their recipe just a little bit. I couldn't tell it was significantly better, but
I heard the
okay.
crust was a little bit thicker. They layer on more toppings and sauce. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true. That's just what Chuck E. Cheese is claiming that they do. But, yeah, like I said, considering you have an intimate relationship with Chuck E. Cheese Pizza from working there for so many years, you'd be able to tell.
I don't have as much inside knowledge as
There
I
you go.
had now.
Yeah, since you've been away for a little while. But, I figured you'd be able to
Yeah.
tell if it was still Chuck E. Cheese Pizza or not. So.
Yeah, and they did evenly cut it, and they didn't try to mix the pieces together. I still think that's hilarious that some people think that's a real
People
thing.
still believe that, Tim. People still believe that. I mean, I saw
know.
people posting our Facebook page
Later.
just today saying they believe that, or the people take pizza off other people's off of the trays where they leave it behind and just piece it together. But not a real thing, guys. Not a real thing. Fake news, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So, but anyway, if you're ordering from Pasquale's Pizza and
My
Wings,
supper just
what'd
got
you say?
here. My supper just got here, so I'm going to
Oh, well, there you go. I'll let you eat a little bit, but we're going to continue on here. But just, guys, a reminder, public service announcement. If you're ordering from Pasquale's Pizza and Wings, you're probably getting Chuck E. Cheese pizza. So there we go. Let's see. Delusional's Arcades here, Tim. Hey, thanks for being here, Delusional. Love having you here. Let's see. Okay. Looks like we're caught up with the live chat, so we'll continue on here, Tim. Here's some more just, lighthearted stuff while we're going through that. Blowing off steam with these reimagined arcade art pieces, Tim, and I don't know if you saw any of these, but on Arcade Heroes, they kind of took some of the pictures from like old arcade flyers and things and kind of gave them a makeover. So instead of you'll see the Tiger King one there, and I forget the game that Black Tiger, right? I think that's a Black Tiger flyer is what that's based off of, but they've kind of redone it in the style of Tiger King. And of course, Paperboy giving toilet paper instead of regular paper, reading papers. And then we have the Crazy Uber instead of the Crazy Taxi, Double Dragon with the separation and the mask on, and then the Dude Bro Mortal Kombat side art, which I really liked as well. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of them there on that Arcade Heroes post that I really encourage you guys to check out. There's a link below in the show notes, but really funny stuff, Tim. It's just good to laugh every once in a while. I mean, I know we're in quarantine, but make the best of it. So, but anyway, okay. So I think Tim, I think that about does it for the show. So I'll just throw out some reminders and some contact information while you eat your supper real quick. What are we having tonight for dinner?
Okay. I'm having
Catfish.
Teacher Appreciation
Oh, well, there
Week.
you go.
They cook fish at the school for my wife. She dropped me off.
Oh, well, there you go. That's nice of her. So, go ahead and eat your catfish, Tim, and I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the announcements and things that we have. We want to remind everybody that we want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. You can send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you. And we look forward to your submissions. And Tim, we haven't gotten many of those recently, but again, maybe you're just getting your channel started, or you have maybe just one arcade-related video up there and you really like some promotion for it. Get with us, send us an email, let us know what you got. We'll take a look at it. If we think it's really enough to arcade stuff, we'll try to throw it on a live show episode for you. Luis says, those are nice. Maybe they could still sell those to raise funds for arcade owners. Oh, maybe the little flyers there, Tim. That's not a bad idea. Maybe support some owners with those flyers that we were looking at. That'd be cool. So anyway, let's continue. Guys, we're going to remind everybody that the general email to send in questions to us is questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you put live show on the subject, it'll get mentioned on the show. Otherwise, we will get around to it whenever we get a chance. But again, that's questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And then, Tim, we have our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. For those of you guys who are watching this live, of course, you're already here. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, or maybe you're watching this on our website, you can check out our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. And we try to cover comments from the last live show on the next episode. So if you're watching this and you'd like to get your question on the next episode, you can leave it in the comments section on YouTube, or you can send us an email and put live show in the subject line like we discussed before. And then, Tim, we have our podcast at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. And Rusty and Eric were both nice enough to drop in tonight and watch the show. But they are the hosts of the Question and Answer podcast and also co-owners of the Game Preserve in Houston. And so if you'd like to talk to them, send them an email at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com, or subscribe to the podcast on our iTunes page at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com or stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com if you prefer the Stitcher client. Tim, we're also on Spotify. If you do a search for Arcade Repair Tips, you'll find us. So subscribe to us on those platforms. You'll be glad you did. And then, Tim, we have our social media pages, and we want to thank Louie and Mark for their constant dedication to making sure there is updated news and answering questions on those pages, but especially on our Facebook page, and that's at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. And then we also have our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, the cross-posting between the Facebook and Twitter feed was broken for a little bit, but we have since repaired it. So now things are getting posted once again, but from the Facebook page to the Twitter feed. Sorry about that, guys. That was a temporary little thing. It looks like the Twitter little client for Facebook may have broken, so we've gone about this a different way now, but you should be getting the same news regardless of whether you subscribe to us on Facebook or Twitter. And so we do want to thank again Mark and Louie for their constant dedication and work to keeping you updated with the latest arcade news on our Facebook and Twitter feeds. Tim, I think that does it for the live show part of this thing, so do you have anything else before we move into the after show? Anything you want to tease?
No, just if anything, 2020 has been the year of change.
Absolutely.
And we've had some pretty drastic ones, so we're going to keep rolling with the changes around here. We'll announce a couple new ones that I have coming up, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and so Tim's got some exciting announcements. I've got some announcements that we'll be talking about. Non-arcade related announcements, of course. And then we've also are going to be talking about some sports. We'll be doing, just some general movie and TV show talk. Tim, I do want to mention that we both have seen Waco. That was the Paramount Network and now on Netflix version that is basically a documentary. Not a documentary so much as a docudrama about, what went down with, Mount Carmel and David Koresh and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Waco, stay tuned in the after show. Or if you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure you tune in on YouTube and watch the after show there. Tim, is there anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, just thank everybody that tuned in. We know some stuff is getting back to normal. We hope that you and your family are safe, and that we really don't want anybody to get sick, and hope that you're well. and that you're able to go to work or go to work soon.
Absolutely. We wish that you all are happy and well, and please continue to be safe. Practice good social distancing, wear masks when possible, and anything else to keep yourself and your family safe during this time. And guys, just we hope so much that you can join us here for the next live show in June. Hopefully, hopefully Tim will be in the same room next month. So I am hoping for that, and I hope that the social distancing doesn't last too much longer. I don't know if I'm ready to get out and about, but I think I am ready to at least get together and do a live show in the same room together. So hopefully the June episode will be that. But guys, we want to thank all of you guys for sticking around with us, watching the live show tonight, and for joining us here in the live chat. You guys are what make the show. All of you who are watching and are in the live chat, we just thank you guys so much for all of the great things that you guys have done for us by participating in all the content that we make. But guys, keep your family safe, be safe. Join us for the after show if you want to. Otherwise, we'll see you next month. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game, we play the game. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next month, or we'll see you in the after show.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
Okay, Tim, we're here for the after show. Hopefully everybody can hear us. Did I mute everybody? So if you can hear me, just let me know in the live chat, just to make sure I hit all the buttons correctly. Tim, there's like 15 buttons I got to hit to do this thing remotely, which is another reason I want you here with me. So
Let me let this dog out. He's going crazy.
go for it. So
Go outside. Keep talking.
I'm talking. Hopefully everybody had a good live show. Obviously, we're in the after show now, so if you're watching this, we still answer arcade-related questions in the after show, but we also just kind of go over what all's been going on with us, just personal things that we may be talking about and other stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, then you can stick around and hang out with us, or otherwise we'll go ahead and take off here, and we'll see you next time. But Tim, let's just go ahead and just talk about how everybody's doing, and I want to hear from the live chat too. So, I mean, what have you guys been doing with all of the different? Obviously, most of us have been sheltering at home. So, what have you been doing during this time to keep yourself sane? Tim, I'll start with you.
Well, since I've been working, and really, on my days off, we are, Jonathan, as you know, we put our house up for sale. And so I had been working around, about the only place I've went to is Lowe's about 20 times, and that has been quite an experience each time.
Right.
I'm kind of glad I don't have to go to Lowe's now, I hope, for a while. But I did go the other day, and have you been to Lowe's or Home Depot lately?
I have not. I have stayed home, so.
Well, you know what they did was they had people at the door, and they were counting the number of people that were in and going out. So the Lowe's, you know where the entrance is that you always go in, the line would be all the way to the other lumber part entrance, and beyond that almost to Drug Emporium.
Wow.
So you would have to sit there in that line to get in each time, just for something simple. So I finally got smart, and I said, well, I'll order it online and just go pick it up. I needed a sprinkler head. Think about this. One that screws in costs about $7. It took them 2 days to fill the order.
Wow.
They were so far behind. Then when I went and picked it up, it took about 30 minutes for them to bring me that part.
Wow.
So I could have easily just went through the stupid line. It looks like Six Flags there, trying to get in the line. So that was about my going out, and we visited a few, went through the drive-through at a couple restaurants, or maybe did some pick-out, but we tried to stay in for the most part.
Yeah, and we've been really staying into it. Of course, I'm still going to work every day, but I literally go into the front door at work. I lock myself in my office. I leave for lunch. I come back from lunch. I lock myself in my office again, and I stay in there pretty much till it's time to go home. So, I mean, I am literally locked in my office pretty much all day. So, I'm looking forward to getting out and doing fun stuff instead of just going and locking myself in my office. So, hopefully that'll happen. But things are going pretty well around here. I mean, we're still doing my daughter's schoolwork, and so she's got, I guess, little less than a month probably until she gets all her stuff done. I know that your wife's a teacher, Tim, and so what about her? Is she still doing schoolwork with her kids as well?
Yeah, she does a Zoom class meetings with them, and what they do is they go to school and they pick up a packet of stuff, and the parents are supposed to work with them, and then she can Zoom in with them a couple times a week to see if anybody's having problems or whatever they need help with, and sometimes just to social and visit and keep in touch with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If I was a teacher, I'd be thinking this is the best spring break ever. But it's not the case. They're not happy to be home. They'd rather be teaching the kids. They're concerned that the kids are really missing out. And I really have seen her heart for her classroom. I feel for her. And so everybody please think of, teachers, everybody thinks, oh, they get all summer off. I really have learned a lot about that. She's all the time in her classroom working and those type of things. So teachers are really, for the amount of hours they get paid, she probably doesn't even make minimum wage. So the amount of hours that she puts in. So, I really do feel for our teachers. And then for the parents that are homeschool teachers that have never had to teach before, what an experience this has been for everybody. I saw someone had a sign on their car, Jonathan. It said, "You lied. My kid is not a pleasure to be with."
Yeah, and I mean, Tim, we do the same thing. We've been picking up packets for my daughter, and then she does the packets. We're part of a Facebook group where the teacher every day will post what to do on each worksheet and all that kind of stuff, so that Olivia my daughter gets her schoolwork done and everything like that. But it is more of a challenge now, and it's really my wife. I gotta give her a lot of credit for working with her and getting the work done and everything like that. I mean, but it's not like being at school. I mean, she can get all of her work done usually in a couple hours, and then she's done for the day. You know what I'm saying?
And then Jonathan Landon's a senior this year, so. A couple of weeks ago, he come up and told me, he said, "Well, I graduated today." I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, we're not doing any more work. We're done."
Wow.
So we still don't know if we're going to get to have a graduation like at the stadium and keep our distance and see him actually get his diploma. They're talking about maybe videoing it, and we're like, it's just going to be, nobody will ever forget this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of creative ways to do it. I heard in Dallas that the owner of Texas Motor Speedway was opening it up to some of the school districts that they could have a drive-in graduation, Tim. So that may be one way that we do this, like you said, maybe via video or other ways. It's going to be different, like you said, and people will remember it, I think, for sure. So.
Yeah, what a crazy year.
Yeah. The Real Hammer Billy Lee says, "I've been working on a Mortal Kombat 1 cabinet that someone converted to a Golden T99, and I'm working on restoring it and converting it into an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So that's a cool project. Hopefully you can get all that done, Real Hammer Billy Lee. And if you have any questions about it, please let us know. But good luck with that, for sure. So, but anyway, Tim. So, if any other, let us know how you guys are doing in the live chat too. If you guys are hanging in there all right. I think me and Tim are. Like I said, we're both going to work every day, so that's a little bit different. But maybe you're not. Maybe you've been staying home this whole time. Maybe you got laid off. I don't know. I know that Tim, 30% of the workforce right now seems like is at home. So, if you're one of those people, let us know. We want to know how you're doing as well. So,
well, did you see where Gaddy's is going to reopen tomorrow?
I did.
Or Friday.
I did. So did you talk to the owner or anything like that?
I talked to him a little bit, and they are going to do a buffet, but it's going to be like cafeteria style where you say, "I want a slice of that," and the employee picks the pizza and gives it to you.
Gotcha.
And they're only going to be open maybe like 11 to 3, and then shut down and clean, and then maybe like 5 to 7.
Gotcha.
So, but they are going to give it a shot. I don't think they're going to have the game room open yet because of those concerns that we talked about earlier.
Right.
But the problem is Gaddy's is in pretty good shape because it's so big. If you guys don't know, Gaddy's seating capacity is 700. So they can actually have, what is that? I don't know what 25% of that is offhand, 350, 125.
Yeah. So
they could have 125 people, and that would be really busy. But they don't, sorry, wind keeps blowing the door open. But, yeah, it's okay.
Come get me in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Come on.
Anyway, so, but if, like he said, if he's only allowed to run 25% capacity, 25% of what he normally would do doesn't pay the people. It's kind of like you have to have a certain number of people no matter what your income is. Like you got to have a cook, you got to have a dishwasher, you got to have a cashier. You can run a skeleton crew, but you have to have so many people there. And at 25% of what he's normally used to doing, he still can't make it,
sure,
like financially.
Right.
So that's going to be a challenge, And people are going to have to be understanding. So when you go out to eat, know that they're cut back on their staff, or they didn't hire, or they didn't get some of their people back. Just because you're able to go out and eat, don't expect just all this awesome service. We could tell when we went out to dinner for the first time the other night. We really wanted some Mexican food, and it was nice, and we didn't have any problems. Everybody kept social distancing, but you could tell they were way shorter on their staff, checking out, but you're just going to have to be a little understanding. We can't expect them to be fully staffed and people there to greet you and let you out and wait on you hand and foot. Those days are over for a while.
Absolutely. YouTube Punk says, working from home, very thankful to have a job. So glad to hear that, YouTube Punk, that you're still employed and still working. That's good. Greg says, working from home here too. Fixed the Star Wars and Gorf. Now working on an Atari System 1, converting to Mortal Kombat 1. Time to go back to the Roadrunner. Just those joysticks for Roadrunner are so much money. That is true. Roadrunner joysticks are a lot. You just have to bite the bullet on it, Greg. Probably get them. So something to keep in mind. But glad that you're able to work from home too. I mean, that's the thing. I'm glad that a lot of you guys have jobs because, man, I tell you what, it's really hard out there, I think, right now for a lot of people. Greg says that's a huge worry. Just because you're open doesn't mean you're making enough to stay open, right, Tim?
Yeah, that's true.
And YouTube Punk said, when are you going back to Mr. Gaddy's?
I don't foresee that. For one, at 25% of his business, he can't afford to pay me
right.
what he was paying me. So I would never say never. Because I definitely didn't burn any bridges there, and I'm sure in some retrospects he would like to have me back. But at the same time, Dairy Queen did offer me a job when I was laid off and I had no income, so I feel a sense of loyalty to them right now. And I'm enjoying my job. I enjoy the people that I work with and that I work for. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see how it works out. Absolutely.
And I know that you're going to miss Mr. Gaddy's, Tim, as well. But like you said, I mean, right now it's just that they're in such a tough financial spot. And Tim, it is 25% capacity of the food, but here's the thing. They're making less per person because they don't have the games running as well, right?
Right. And that's your labor saver over there. You know, you can do half the business with one or two people, whereas right now you're not even getting that income. So just some hypothetical numbers. Let's say you made $20,000 a week. It's way more than that,
sure,
but I mean,
example.
just for math's sake here, 10,000 of that was coming from the game room, but you only had to pay one person. That was really low labor that it balanced out on the other side to make sure you had plenty of cooks, make sure you had plenty of preps, people and cashiers and all that. It really helped to pay for that. So that's going to be a challenge when you don't have that over there. Of course, then you don't have the merchandise costs and those type of things, but that also takes a lot of the fun out for the people that are going that have kids. They're going to want to play games and win prizes. So hopefully this is just temporary, and at least having some income is better than no income.
Right, exactly.
I'm sure.
So hopefully Mr. Guys can continue to make it. I know it's going to be tough for them just because of everything that's going on. Buffets, I think, are going to especially be hard hit, Tim, because of the nature of the business. And sometimes buffets aren't always. I know you guys ran a pretty clean buffet, but it's hard when you have several hands grabbing pizza, and about the only way you can do it is kind of like cafeteria style, like you mentioned.
Right, and I think that may never change again. You know, because we had complaints about that before. You know, it's like a kid would come up there wiping their nose, and then they'd grab a slice of pizza, or they would pick up a slice of pizza and put it back, and then we'd have to throw out the whole pizza. Or they'd just reach in and grab the Jell-O with their hands or something, you know. So by all means, I've always, even before this totally went down and we were starting to cut back, I was asking people to not let kids come to the buffet line at all.
Right.
I was like, seat your kids, and would you get their food for them? A couple people got really upset, but I know that for a fact that kids are the ones that really can spread a lot of germs, and they just don't wash their hands and do what they're supposed to do. But hopefully we'll raise up a generation of kids that know better or will learn better.
Absolutely, Tim. So, well, thanks everybody who chimed in, kind of give us an update on how you guys are doing. Tim, do you want to talk about investments, or you just want to move right along? I think it's up to you. I've seen some of my stuff bounce back a little bit, but it's going to be a while, I think, before we get back to where we were.
Well, you know, I think I told you, it's kind of here's the thing you think about when the market is down, which of course it was. It was a great time to buy. So I did buy some oil and gas stocks, because I guarantee you, gas here, guys, was $1.12 yesterday at Sam's. $1.12. I never thought I would see that again in my lifetime, John. That was like when I was in high school, you know. And so $1.12 gas, I don't think that will stay forever. So I think it is a good time to invest in those stocks, knowing that one day they will return. So it's kind of like a good time to buy.
But I have had some luck with some stocks. In fact, I made more money last month in the stock market than I did last year, which is not bragging because I hardly make anything last year. But I'm just saying that I had the best month I've had in about 2 years. But that's just saying that there's always money to be made, no matter what. There's a company from Marshall, Texas, Johnson, that's come out with a COVID test that's oral. And you don't have to swab way up your nose or nothing, that's very uncomfortable. You just swab your cheeks. So that's a company right here in East Texas. And boy, their stock has went up. Another company just signed on with Amazon. And Amazon's doing pretty good during this time, don't you think? Netflix had some good month. And believe it or not, a good time right now to buy like AMC or some movie stock. Because, once this is over, people are going to want to go to the movies. They're going to get back into theaters. They're going to get back and eat. So I would encourage anybody, if you got some extra money to invest right now, think about those things that are down. I bought some Walmart stock, John, back in January, though. Before, when I first heard this was going on, I sold my Apple. I sold some other stocks because I thought they're getting their products from China. But look at what Walmart stock has done. I wish I should have bought some toilet paper stock or some Clorox stock.
Exactly.
So I would encourage people to go ahead and invest because that helps. And the stock market didn't totally crash. This is not the 1920s. I think for the most part it's held up. Plus we have a lot of foreign investors and things that invest in our companies, which really it is a global market now.
Absolutely.
So it's not dead.
Right. For sure. And like you said, Tim, there's some great deals to be had. You just have to be patient. I think oil and gas is going to be a while before it really comes back. So you're going to have to be patient with the oil and gas stocks. But I think you will eventually turn a profit on those. It may be a year, though, Tim. I mean, because there's just so much inventory on the market right now that it's got, and they've cut production a little bit. But what people don't realize is that they can't cut it all that much because the only way to cut it more is to close down wells. Well, it costs money to close down and open up wells. So, and so you don't want, they've reduced everything down to a trickle, but they still have to produce the trickle because otherwise it's going to cost them money to shut down the wells and then to open them back up later. And so we're going to have an overabundance of oil for a while. Eventually it will come back and demand will come back, but it may be a year, Tim. I think it's at least a year out.
Well, I'm thinking about putting some gasoline in my freezer and seeing how long it'll last, because I may need it, when it's $4 a gallon.
Well, I was about to say, they were paying you basically to put oil places. They couldn't find places to put it all. That one day where it went negative, did you see that?
Yeah, it went negative. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's because demand. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Even if you're back at your job, even if you're getting back out, guess what you're not doing, Tim? You're not going beyond your city. So, and guess what else isn't happening? Flights.
Airplanes.
Exactly. And think about how much fuel airplanes use. And so, it's going to be a while before I think we see demand meet the supply that's currently on the market. So.
Yeah. But I can wait.
What?
Yeah, I can wait. It's a good deal.
If you can wait it out, eventually you will turn a profit on it for sure.
I believe so.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. But it's just how long do you want your money to be tied up for? That's the question. So. Okay, now Tim, you kind of alluded to it. What was the big announcement that you were going to make about something that you were doing?
Well, we just said this is the year of change, changing jobs, changing everything with all this going on. So we just thought when the federal dropped the interest rate to zero, pretty much, then we knew the banks would drop theirs. And you notice it's not 2 or 1.5 like I hoped for, but mortgage interest rates dropped. So we tried to sell our house about 4-5 years ago, and we didn't have any luck at all. And we put our house on the market, and it sold in 5 days.
Wow!
So we had 2 people look at it. The first one wanted it and said they were waiting on some property to sell, and they were very interested, but they didn't have the money at the time. The second person made us an offer, and it was pretty significant over what we were asking just 5 years ago. So we took it. The problem is, John, is we are going to close on our house and buy a house all in the same day next month, which means that once we close on our house, we have to, like, that night to get all of our stuff out of here and move into the new house. Without, having a day or two in between,
Right.
We got to close on the houses and then go move right away. So, but that gives us about a month to pack up, but it's been crazy. I wouldn't have thought that our house could sell so quickly. And but the good news is, Jonathan, we're getting I don't want to brag or anything. It's more of a dream home for me. It's a bigger. It's got a lot more parking and stuff. But one of the main things the guys will want to know, and we'll have to do a live show from there sometime, is it has an indoor shop, man cave, if you will, kind of like your house, as a converted garage. This is similar, but I think it was actually built in as a shop. It's got double swinging doors, so we could easily get a game in there or two and work on them. It's got built-in cabinets. It's got electrical plugs everywhere. There's like 10 in there. Has heating and air conditioning. So guys that know us and have seen the videos remember my shop that I once had, and now I'm going to have a shop and probably some games at home, or at least something to work on, and then plus a place to work on just all my other projects around the house and things like that. So pretty excited to have a shop again, John.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm looking forward to filming some videos over there. So, yeah, I miss the big metal building shop that we had. It was hot in the summer, cold in the winter, and and had a lot of junk in it. But it was our shop, Tim. We spent a lot of hours over there. So hopefully we'll spend a lot of hours at the new shop. So we're looking forward to that. Let's see. Greg says you can negotiate a 1-week rental in the closing if the buyers are okay with it. So you could rent a.
We did consider that. The house we're moving into is empty for the most part. They got to get a few more things, so it is empty. And unless the closing dates don't line up, we're going to try to do that to avoid either one or having to pay rent to either person. Because we are going to have a mortgage payment coming up. It won't take long, and they'll be wanting their money. So that is on the table if we cannot get them on the same date, but we're thinking we can.
So we may just have to do the July live show from your place, huh? Even if there's boxes around, that may be okay. So
that'd be great.
There you go. So, well, hopefully it all works out for you, Tim. Now, speaking of homes, I'm in the middle of a refinance. I think we're going to close here in a couple of days, 3 days probably. But guys, if you're not looking at your refinancing options at this point, you need to be doing it. So just telling you right up front.
Right.
Because, I mean, interest rates are not going to get any lower.
Yeah, what did they say? If it's even half a point can make a significant, like if you're at 4% and it's at 3.5%, it makes. But if you can lower it a point, if yours is at 4.5 and right now you can get 3.5 or lower, you're going to significantly lower your payment.
So that's what happened with us, Tim.
In fact,
we refinanced 2 years ago, and we're getting almost a point, a little over a point less interest rate with this refinance, and that was just 2 years ago that we did that.
Wow, that's crazy. One reason why we're able to afford kind of a nicer house than we could have 4 years ago with more room and more parking and a shop is because the interest rate is a lot lower. So we're actually able to get a little bit more than we could have for the same price.
And Tim, interest rates are lower across the board. So another thing that we've been looking at is maybe getting a new car. Okay, they are giving new cars away, guys. They are giving. I mean, I say giving them away, but I mean, you're getting like 0% financing for like 84 months in some cases. And I know that's probably too long to finance a car, but if you're like me, you're going to pay extra on it anyway and get it paid off. Because that's the way I am. And so, but why not take the 84 at 0, basically borrowing free money, and then pay extra on it, get it paid off quick. And if for some reason you get in a tight spot, can't afford the high car note 1 month, you pay the whatever the minimum is that you have to pay, and then you're good to go. But Tim, we've been looking at cars, and I mean they're coming off the price by $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 in some cases.
Right. Who is looking for? Who's going to get the car? You or Deirdre?
Oh, my wife's going to get the car. We've been looking at Honda Pilots. And so, but here's the thing I do, and this is my advice to anybody who's looking for a new car. I emailed every Honda dealership within driving distance, and I said, "What's your best out the door price?"
Right.
I have gotten pricing from all of them, and I know what the best price is. Okay, and so like sometimes I've had dealerships, they send the price back, and they're like, what can we do to earn your business? I'm like, well, you can lower the price. And they're like, well, we sent you a very aggressive offer. I said, I've got 2 more aggressive offers than your aggressive offer. So, it's like, when you shop it around like that, guys, because here's the deal. You should never go to a place and not know what you're going to pay for something. So you should always at least get an out the door price. Now that can still be negotiated down, Tim. But if you know that other dealerships are offering $2,000, $2,500 less than the dealership that you're looking at, then you can go to the dealership you want to, but you can say, hey, homeboy over here is going to give it to me for $2,500 less. So, all you have to do is email.
Right.
They'll tell you. And it'll either be high or it'll be low. But, that's the way I shop for a car, Tim. Just tell me what your best price is, and then I'm going to compare everybody and see what I want. So, but, Tim, with the financing offers like they are right now, and they literally can't move cars because nobody's buying cars. And so if you're looking for a car right now, or if you need a car right now, definitely need to be looking because, and a lot of the shopping you can do online as well. So, good stuff.
And some of them have 6 months no payment.
Yeah.
Right now. If you're out of work but you think, I'll get back to work, they're even offering payments.
No
right
payments
now.
from anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Now you have to be careful with that, Tim, because if you're doing an 84-month financing offer with a 3-month or a 6-month deferment in payments, you're probably going to be upside down on your car at some point, unless you either put a big down payment on it or if you're paying more per month. So keep that in mind. You never want to be upside down on a car. So either put a good down payment on that car before you do the financing, or go ahead and make sure that you pay more per month so you can get that, so you don't end up upside down on it. That's really important. So let's see. Greg says he's in the process right now. Let's see. What's involved in a refinance? Isn't there a charge? There are fees that go along with a refinance, but like Tim mentioned, if you're a point or even half a point cheaper on your interest rate, then it'll make the fees worth it. Right, Tim?
Right. And they'll roll those fees into the payment most of the time, but you still end up
exactly, and that's what it comes down to. YouTube Punk says, how many cabinets can you fit in a Pilot? I think I could fit 2 cabinets and a cocktail. That's I'll have to see, but that's my guess right now. Now, I do have a Tahoe still that we're not going to trade in, so I may be able to get more in the Tahoe, but you'd be surprised what a Pilot can fit. There's a YouTube video review of a guy doing push-ups in the back of one who's 6'4". So obviously you can get a lot of stuff in the back. We'll see exactly how much. Greg says there's charges, but they're pretty low now. My new loan is 0 points and just a $2,000 charge at the credit union, and the rate is 3.4. I got 3.4 on mine as well, Greg. So, Tim, what did you get on your interest rate? Yeah.
On the house, my house is good 3.275.
I haven't been able to find rates quite that low for refinance for some reason. I don't know if it's just the lenders I'm looking at.
No, it's only for a purchase. Yeah, you're right. The refi is
still
a little
cheap.
bit higher, but
yeah,
I don't know why. Yeah, it's really that way you can actually see it going down every month too. And on my truck, which was used, was 2.97.
Greg says you can get a 20-year 2.95 if you want to do the 20. So you guys, this is a great time, especially for those of you who may be in a tough financial circumstance. It may be harder to get approved for those loans if you are, but like you said, a lot of places are willing to work with you, knowing that eventually you're going to get your job back, whatever the case may be. It doesn't hurt anything to call, right, Tim?
Yeah, and this is one thing Jonathan and I would both recommend. One of the smartest investments either one of us have ever made is real estate, because unless you just live and let your house go, if you can work on games, work on your house, and keep it up, that you're going to gain money and equity in that home a lot faster than you will like a car or something else like that loses equity. And, this will be the 4th house sale that I've been involved in, John, and, to be able to really put a chunk of change down to where you can get something you never thought you could own before. Not bragging, but just saying, that you work your way up to that. I didn't start at that at your age or even younger, but it eventually pays off. Real estate's a great investment. If you're still paying rent, really consider that. I know sometimes in bigger cities and stuff, it's the way to go. But if you can own a car, own a house, or some land or something, you'd be surprised
how quickly
And I agree
that
with
can
Tim,
accumulate.
except for the fact I'm going to name a couple of things here. One, I had to replace my part of my roof, and it cost me $5,000. I had to replace part of my AC unit, and it cost $1,500. So and taxes if you have property taxes. So you do gain equity, but you have taxes on there as well. So that's something to keep in mind. In the long run, yes, it is still a good investment, but those are things to keep in mind is that you do have repairs and you do have taxes on top of that investment. So sometimes people will overestimate what their growth is on their real estate, saying like, oh, well, I've earned 10% year over year on my house, whatever the case may be. Yeah, but did you factor in all the repairs that you had to do? Did you factor in the taxes with that as well? But still, even with those things though, Tim, still a great investment. Gotta mow your grass.
Gotta mow your grass.
So you don't have to, but I mean, I guess it depends. Yeah, where I live, the city, they'll throw an ordinance against you if you don't cut it, or they'll cut it and then send you the bill. So yeah, but anyway.
Hey, you mentioned hornets, John. What are you scared of murder
hornets?
At this
point, bring it on because I feel like it can get any worse anyway. So I've got fly swatters. We're good to go.
Yeah. I'm just like, what else could happen this year? Really, murder hornets? We gotta go. What else is happening? It's just
yeah,
like
you can't call the Simpsons. Did you see the Simpsons predicted all this, Tim? So
yeah, that's true.
Right, exactly. So it is what it is. But yeah, so if you're shopping for a car, though, guys, I mean, just like I said. If you've got the means to buy a car, you need a new car, now's a good time just because interest rates are so low. Buying houses, interest rates are low. And if you are buying a new car, highly recommend that you email a ton of dealerships and get the prices for what you want. If you're buying a used car, you really can't do that. You can only do comparison shopping. But with new stuff, man, they're dealing hard, and they want your business. So email a couple dealerships, let them know you're interested, ask them for out-the-door pricing. They'll give it to you. You may have to exchange a couple of emails, but they will give it to you eventually. So, but great time to buy a lot of stuff because you can get, as long as you have a good job and you haven't been laid off or anything like that, you can get loans with really low interest. So. Tim, I'm going to move on to some sports talk real quick. We've got the only real sports that are going on is the Korean Baseball Organization League on ESPN. I don't know if you've watched any of these games yet, but there are some Korean Baseball League games on ESPN. And the cool thing about the Korean League, Tim, is that they believe in bat flips, boy. So when a home run is hit, they flip that bat every which way. Here, they would see that as an entire insult, but in Korea, man, it's just a celebration. Like same way you have a touchdown dance whenever a guy scores a touchdown in football. Well, in baseball, man, the bat flip is the touchdown dance for Korea. So yeah, so watch a couple of games on ESPN. It's fun stuff. There was also, I don't know if you got to see the MLB The Show Players League. So they had players from all of the Major League Baseball teams compete in a MLB The Show video game baseball tournament, and I think Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays won, but Joey Gallo made it into the postseason with the Texas Rangers, lost in the first round. But it was fun to watch that as well because you got to hear the commentary from the players as they played, and they asked them questions about the managers they play for, different teammates and things like that. So that was fun as well. And then Tim, I have had fun reliving some of the game replays. They showed Game 6 of 2011's ALCS, the one that we went to, and Tim, that is a game that we went to, but not a game I watched on television. So going back and watching that game on television is fun because obviously we were on a different side of things. We weren't hearing the commentary. We weren't previewed to all the things that were going on in the television broadcast. So it was interesting to go back and kind of relive that after being there for sure. So I don't know if you caught that or not, but they have been replaying it on Fox Sports. So
no, okay.
Best
baseball game
if you're a
ever.
Texas Ranger fan, it's pretty much the only one you have to hang your hat on. So, but good stuff there. So check out some of those game replays. I've seen some hockey game replays from different, like Stanley Cup Finals for the Dallas Stars. I've seen, basketball replays and some other things. So, you can take in some replays. Not quite the same as watching it live, but it's good to relive some of those moments over again. And then, Tim, I guess let's go ahead and work into our current movie and TV show talk. I know that we have both seen Waco, and we kind of teased that before we went into the after show. So let's leave that till the end. That'll be the final discussion because we'll have some spoilers in that.
Okay.
Not like there's spoilers. It's kind of like spoiling Titanic, right? I mean, you kind of know the ending already, guys. But
Right.
But what are some other things you've been watching, Tim?
That I really haven't been watching too much. My wife we're still watching 90 Day Fiance some. We've been playing a game, word cookies, a lot, and I've kind of got into that. And but I've been working so much, I haven't really had a lot of time just to sit and watch TV.
Tim, for me, I mean, I would usually be going out on the weekends, or we'd have church stuff going on, or other things, and so being home, I've been consuming quite a bit. So I did see Trolls World Tour because my kids obviously wanted to see that, and so we saw that, and it was good. I know I saw some hate from Preston, from formerly of the Game Room Junkies, now of Wayback Attack, but he said it was terrible. I think it's okay. It's a kids movie, guys. You have to remember that. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's entertaining. The music's good. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know what you expect from it, I guess. Preston was obviously expecting a lot more from it than I was. Maybe it's just because, he had higher expectations for it. But I thought it was fine. My daughter absolutely loved it. She's watched it. She watched it several times. And, it was good. So, I mean, look, it's a kid's movie. It is what it is. Right, Tim? Exactly. Oh, let's see what else we have here. YouTube Punk. I couldn't finish watching Tiger King. You see, Tim.
You know what's funny? As much as we talked about it, I still haven't seen
Oh, you should watch the extra
episode.
Okay, I've seen the extra episode, so it's okay. It's not anything special.
Okay.
It just basically does interviews with all the people except for Tiger King guy. It does. I mean, Carol Baskin. I don't think's in it either, but I mean, it does it with all the other people from the documentary. So, but
now, have you heard the big controversy is who's playing?
Yes, Nicolas Cage.
Joe
I did
Exotic.
see that.
You heard about that? Yeah. Everybody's like, it should have been David Spade.
A little too close to Joe Dirt, I think. So, but Nicolas Cage, I don't know, did you see Jimmy Fallon's Nicolas Cage as Tiger King? Have you seen that? Go look it up. Look it up.
I haven't seen.
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
Jimmy Fallon does Nicolas Cage being the Tiger King. It's awesome. So, let's see.
Okay.
YouTube Punk really felt for the exploited animals. Did they reveal in the documentary he killed the tigers before going to prison? Of course, that was the big talk, that he did kill several tigers that didn't need to be killed. I know that was big, and that was one of the things I think that put him away, right, Tim?
Well, it wasn't necessarily he did admit to killing 5 tigers, but in other interviews I've heard, he says when it come down to a person's life or a tiger, evidently he had to kill. He didn't kill them just because he wanted their meat or feed other tigers or whatever. I think it was more of either a self-defense by the way he talked, or he was protecting an employee or a guest at the time.
There you go.
So out of hundreds and hundreds, maybe over 1,000 tigers, he did admit to killing 5 of them. But I can kind of see that. Just like a rancher, if a bull was attacking one of his family members, he would probably kill a bull.
Eric says, thanks for the videos. I like original arcade PCBs, and who doesn't? What would be the best multi-cade boards that you would suggest for us on a tight budget? If you're looking for classics, you can't go wrong with the 60-in-1 there, Eric. I mean, the 60-in-1 is cheap. It plays all the classic games and works really well. Tim, some of the Pandora's box boards, like the older models, like the 3, are super, super duper cheap, like $30. They don't play all the games, and the emulation's a little spotty on them. But man, you're getting them for super ultra cheap if that's what you're looking for. Tim, any other multi-cade boards that you can think of that may be cheap?
I'd recommend the 60-in-1. I don't really like
the Game of Elf boards are okay.
Just because you got
and they're not pricey. They're not all that pricey. And the 412-in-one's actually pretty good. But I mean, the 60-in-1 gets pretty much all the games that you want to play on it. And the 412-in-1 does have more, but I don't know if it's worth the extra price. So
I think if I was going to run that many games, I would just go ahead and run MAME and run more and do a Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi is always a great option too. It's cheap, and you can build a pretty simple interface through the input-output pins as well for it. So I mean, Raspberry Pi is another great option for doing multi-cades as well. So I mean, Eric, hopefully that gives you some ideas. But 60-in-1, the older Pandora's box boards, which the emulation isn't quite as good on, but still cheap, and then maybe a Raspberry Pi as well. Probably best options for that. Okay, Tim, so let me talk about some more stuff I've been watching. I finished The Mandalorian on Disney+. Have you seen The Mandalorian?
No, I actually have not watched it at all. Okay. I think I have access to it. Put it that way.
It was, I watched the first episode a long time ago, and I kind of stopped. It took me a while to get into it. Even with the Baby Yoda stuff, okay, it still took me a while. But I slogged through the first and second episodes, and after that, I kind of got hooked. And the final 2 episodes, which there's only 8 episodes total, the final 2 episodes are fantastic. It really leaves it in a good place for season 2. So it's only about 4 or 5 hours, maybe tops, with all the episodes. So it's kind of like more like a long movie than a series, I guess you could say. But it's worth watching, Tim, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. You definitely need to watch it. It was fun, Tim. A lot of fun. May slog through the first couple episodes, but it gets better after that. So
I just know Baby Yoda likes chicken nuggets or something.
I don't know where the cheeky nuggies came from. Who knows? But Baby Yoda's in it, of course. That's not a spoiler if you've seen any kind of meme lately, it seems like. But it's really good, and it's well done. Like I said, a little slow going, but after you get through it, it's good. Tim, I have also continued our quest to watch more episodes of The Middle, which I know that you and your wife really love. And we just finished up season 1, and we're moving into season 2 now. So it's going to take us a while before we get to the end of this. But The Middle is really fun. Just a nice, lighthearted sitcom to watch after a long day. So. And then I watched a documentary, Framing John DeLorean, okay, which is about John DeLorean and kind of his story. It's on Hulu, so if you guys want to watch it, you have a subscription to Hulu, you can watch it on Hulu. But it's basically John DeLorean's entire story, how he started off, making cars, and then, of course, branching off, making the DeLorean Motor Company, how the feds kind of busted him for drug-related things that they pretty much set him up for, which is why he was acquitted. But then how he kind of embezzled some money from his own company, and then kind of how he died or how his life ended and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in DeLorean at all, the DeLorean motor car, or in the company that he started, you should watch it. Fascinating look into kind of his motivations and things, and it has both of his kids are interviewed on it, and Alec Baldwin is in it. He actually plays John DeLorean in some of the scenes, so it's worth a watch if you're interested in anything about John DeLorean. It's worth it. So, and Bob Gale's in it too, one of the writers of Back to the Future. I should mention that. So that's on Hulu, though, Framing John DeLorean. Give it a watch. Let me know what you think. And then, Tim, this is not something that's really, it's not something that's out, but something that they've announced. Tim, one of my favorite corny, cheesy shows of all time is Leverage, which was a show on TNT that was about a team of basically criminals that applied their craft to helping people, and they have announced that on IMDb they're going to bring it back with Noah Wyle as the lead in the original cast. And so I'm looking forward to Leverage 2 is what they're calling it, coming out on IMDb very soon. So apparently the original Leverage is on IMDb, and the views have been so good for it that they actually contacted the production company to see if they'd be interested in continuing the series. So pretty cool stuff. So we'll be seeing that soon. Okay, Tim, ready to talk about Waco? I'm gonna say no spoilers. I mean, this thing's 2 years old now, technically. So I know a lot of people are watching it for the first time because it's on Netflix, myself included. But I do remember when Paramount was running the promos for it and stuff on their network, and so it's been out 2 years. Plus, if you have any familiarity with Waco, then you probably know how it ends. And so I will say spoilers, but no spoilers. So if you don't want to hear what happens, if you want to watch it and kind of do your own thing, that's fine. But Tim, what did you think of Waco?
Well, it was hard to stop watching. Once I got watching it, you really didn't really leave you on cliffhangers. But even though no one was going to come, what was going to happen, I think it really did a good job of kind of telling the inside story of what happened. Couple of scenes. You remember the scene where they thought they shut off all the power and they just started playing jamming up there? I thought that was a really cool scene and showed that I don't know. The more I watch it, when you look back in that time of era in our history, even what I look back at how far overreaching the ATF was, and the FBI, and the kind of feud that they had, and trying to get funding and things like that. It makes me really upset about Ruby Ridge, for one thing, that kind of started a chain reaction that led even to the Oklahoma City bombing.
And that's one of the things that the docudrama, it's really more of a docudrama, definitely does a good job of connecting Ruby Ridge to the Mount Carmel compound and all that kind of stuff, and the Branch Davidians and all that kind of stuff, and then also linking it to Oklahoma City as well, which happened shortly after that. But Tim, a lot of this had to do with discontent with the government. That's why a lot of these people were kind of in this boat. Of course, just Ruby Ridge was a guy who had been an informant for the FBI, Tim. I don't know if you knew that. And then he kind of gets disenchanted with all of it and feels like he's being used. And then he kind of locks himself and barricades himself in. And, they have this whole, for a year.
For a year. Did you realize it was barricaded for a year?
And so, exactly. But, in the area he lived, there was a lot of anti-government sentiment already. And so, it was just a lot of people were supporting him because of that. And then it kind of ended in a bad way. Obviously, I think they still got the guy, right? He came out safely and they were able to get him. But his son, they killed his son, they killed his wife, right? So, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, I like what Waco did was it showed the kind of good FBI guy. You know, the one that was kind of like the main character that wanted it to end peacefully and kind of fought. And then you had the informant that lived across the street from him, and he was like, "Don't go in there. They know you're coming." And it kind of showed not everybody was a bad guy either.
And but here's the thing too, Tim. I think it did a good job of doing something that hasn't been done up to this point to a certain extent, but kind of humanizing David Koresh as well. And I know that when we were watching the news back then, that they really demonized him big time. And look, the guy did things that were totally terrible. But the problem is that what they were trying to get him on, they shouldn't have been trying to get him on. They could have got him on a whole lot of other things, and they could have arrested him peacefully. He could have gone to jail, but instead, they basically, blew up his door and challenged him to a fight is what they did, Tim. Instead of just being like, instead of getting him on something that they can absolutely get him on and just take him in peacefully, they wanted this show of strength. Right, exactly. They wanted the big show. They wanted the show of strength, and because of that, it ended terribly. And it just goes to show you that, when you apply a certain amount of force to a situation, sometimes that force comes back at you in an equal amount. And so, you have to be careful sometimes about how you approach these things. Take it very slowly, and that's what the main character, the FBI negotiator, really wanted to do. Is he wanted to build goodwill with these people and take it slow. And he felt like eventually he could make progress, but it wasn't fast enough for the FBI at the time. And so they resorted to some more extreme tactics that really cost lives, Tim, in the end.
Well, one thing, growing up during that time and watching it, we were led to believe that David Koresh was calling himself Jesus and that he was the Son of God and all. And the movie was kind of the opposite. He never said, "Oh, I'm a prophet," he kind of said like he heard from God, but he never said, "I'm Jesus," or nothing like that. And that was kind of different. I was like, but at the time on the news it was saying, "Oh, he thinks he's God and he thinks he can do whatever he wants," and that really kind of wasn't the story. And it was really sad because knowing the end, but then again to hear it from that perspective, I thought, and a lot of our listeners may not realize, John, that David Koresh is actually buried here in the town that we live in, and his mother, who is part of the show, is from here, or was from here. She's passed away, I do believe, by now. She may still be alive, I'm not sure. But he was raised here in Tyler for a while, so Waco is about 2.5 hours from where we live, and he is buried here in one of our cemeteries.
So, obviously, Tim, with it being in Texas, I think it's a big story for all of us who live here, for sure. And obviously the way they kind of handled it. But like I said, I think the documentary does a good job of showing that, you got to be careful how you approach situations. I think sometimes, you think you have to go in guns blazing when it really seemed like if they just would have been, forthcoming and just would have walked in and said, "Hey, we've got you on this account and we're going to have to take you in," I think he would have gone peacefully and just gone to jail. But because they had to make this big show of it, show this strength, they applied an equal amount of force back at that. And so it ended up being a lot worse than what it could have been.
Well, yeah. If the police come up to my door right now and say, "Come out with your hands up," I'm not going to say no. I'm going to come out with my
Sure.
hands up and see what they have. If they bust through my door and just start shooting at us,
Exactly.
I'm going to shoot back. I mean, it's just a natural reaction. And he went jogging every day. They could have just arrested
Exactly.
him and put him in jail. And I don't think any of his followers would.
Because he was doing things that were
but,
bad.
it's kinda,
It's not like he wasn't doing things
Right.
that were bad. There were bad things that were going on there, but they really didn't have as much to do with the ATF. I mean, they got him on some technicalities, but I
No.
mean, they make the point in the documentary, if he just would have bought a $25 license, the stuff that he did would have been legal. I mean, it's like, it's
Right.
like, are you going to go bust down a guy's door and start shooting at him because he didn't pay $25 license? So,
Well, and that's the kind of scary thing that we haven't talked about since it's the after show. There was a church that was shut down for having outside meeting with people in their cars. So at what point are we, do we have rights, John? There's a thing called the Constitution, and some of it, the guy said, what you're doing is unconstitutional. He goes, the cop said something like, well, we're not talking about the Constitution right now. We're talking about what I told you to do or something. And so, I believe in the Constitution. I believe that we all have a right, and you have a right to go to work and like you said, if you don't want to go out, don't stay home. If you don't feel comfortable, but somebody has a right to risk the virus and to go to work or to go to an arcade or go somewhere. I'm finding that line of being careful and precautious, and also the government overstepping its bounds. And I don't want to get down to another Ruby Ridge or another Waco
Right.
incident over
and
it.
And I think there is, obviously, I mean, in some of these cases, Tim, there is a little bit of overreach. I think here in Texas, Governor Abbott signed a thing today that said that we're not going to fine or jail people if they don't wear masks. I mean, why do we need to fine or jail people if
Right.
they don't wear a mask? I mean, look, it's a good thing to wear a mask. You should wear a mask, but I mean, it's like, we're going to tell you that you need to wear a mask, but if you choose not to wear a mask, I mean, that's fine. Now, here's the deal. A private business can tell you can't come in because you're not wearing a mask. They can absolutely do that because
Right.
that's part of their freedom as well. They're the owner of the establishment. They can say, guess what? You can't come in if you don't have a mask, okay? But that's up to the individual owners of the establishments, whether or not they want to enforce that or not. But I don't think it may not be the government's job to tell everybody that, that we're going to fine you or arrest you if you don't wear a mask. You know what I'm saying?
But at the same time, John, that's how I
Yeah.
feel about seatbelts. But can get fined, or it's inside your car. You're not hurting anybody but yourself. Statistics have shown if you wear a seatbelt, you're more likely to survive. But there are people that don't survive because they were trapped in their car. So I feel like wearing a seatbelt should be a personal something you do just because you want to, not because the government says you have to. But yet, I wear my seatbelt because I don't want to get a ticket for it.
And Tim, I think the thing is that there's a fine line between public safety and personal freedom. And that line is sometimes hard
Right.
to determine. And different states have that line in different places right now because of, obviously, the safety issues that we're dealing with COVID-19. And so, but that's a line that we're constantly kind of fighting over politically, is like, where do we draw the line between public safety and between personal freedom? And, on most things, I like to side on the personal freedom side, but every so often you've got to realize that there are things that are bigger than just, there's things like public safety that are very important as well, making sure that everybody is safe. And so, like I said, sometimes that line, though, it's hard to determine, and especially in a time now where there's so many unknowns, there's a lot of stuff that we're just dealing with for the first time. But personal safety and freedom, our personal freedom and public safety are it's a very fine line between the two. So.
Like I said, we both said earlier, we're glad we're not the ones having to make those decisions.
YouTube Punk says one of the issues is poor people who don't want to go back to work but are forced to, and that's true. There's a lot of people, Tim, who are working, are working, very low-paying jobs that are kind of being forced to go back to work because they can't. They can't support their family otherwise. I mean, I understand that, but I mean, you kind of have to do. I mean, here's the deal: if you don't like what your employer is doing, see if you can find another job. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you at this point. And I understand that it's hard because the job market is hard right now. But I mean, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Now, if you feel like you have been discriminated against because, like, maybe you were let go as one of the first waves because of maybe something that, may have been discriminatory, then you can sue your employer over that. Okay, so if you think it was discriminatory, then you can't do that. If you think your employer is not doing enough to keep you safe during this, you can actually sue your employer to say, I am not going back because I don't feel like they've got my best safety at heart. But if you're going to do that, you've got to have hard facts on your side. You have to know what your company's safety policies are. You have to know what you disagree about with those safety policies. I mean, I heard a lawyer talk about this, Tim, and that's what he recommended. That's what I'm going to recommend as well, is that if you really do believe that your employer is not keeping you safe in your position, then you need to find the policy that your employer has. And if they're not enforcing it, or if it's not good enough for you, you need to know why before you go the lawsuit route. So, but that is an option available to you as well. So, YouTube Punk says, and since healthcare is tied to employment in the U.S., it'll exacerbate the situation. That is true. A lot of the COVID-19 testing and things is covered by the government thanks to the CARES Act, but not all of it. So, obviously, if you've got healthcare issues and you don't have employment right now, that's a struggle as well. So, Tim, any thoughts on that?
No, just that, like you said, you may be able. I know some employers are telling people, if you don't want to come back yet, just stay on unemployment until you feel safe. So there are some good people out there that are telling their employees, we want you to come back, but only if you feel comfortable. And so if you don't, you can still draw unemployment. By all means, do it as long as until you feel comfortable.
Right. But like I said, a lot of employees, he's right, a lot of employers are enforcing some of their employees to come back to work. But like I said, if you don't feel safe, then you have to have a reason why you don't feel safe. You just can't see your employer and say, I don't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a reason. You have to be like, I am exposed to the public every day, and they are not providing me with adequate protection because of X, Y, and Z. You have to have a reason if you're going to go the lawsuit route. So, right. But like you said, there's a lot of employers that are saying, stay on unemployment until you feel safe. And if that's the case for yours, then you're with a really good company. You should stick there. Okay, Tim, I think I'm done. So we kind of tied Waco into everything else that was going on, but overall I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, I say enjoyed it. The ending is rough, but you guys probably knew that if you know what happened in Waco anyway. But as far as the presentation goes, it was very well done. It was polished. The acting was good. I really thought it's worth a watch. The ending is sad, but it's still worth a watch. What do you think, Tim?
Well, it's written from the perspective of Thibodeau. It's based on a book that Thibodeau, he's a character in the show, wrote a book.
The FBI guy really also did as well. It's based on both the books.
Yes. So, and Thibodeau makes a cameo appearance at the end, and I think that if you'll study the struggles he's had since then, and there are some people that there's a church there again today. If you didn't know that, they rebuilt a small little building there, a church. So I've never even been out there before to Mount Carmel, but kind of interesting that there is a group that still meets there today. Well, not now. They're waiting until COVID.
Exactly. So, anyway, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for the after show, guys. Tim, any final words before we head out?
No, it's late. We need to get going. So thank everybody for watching.
Tim,
again
hopefully
tonight.
in June, like I said, we'll be able to be in the same room again. One thing I am going to mention is that in the last live show, I mentioned that there may be a concert scheduled for that night. It looks like they're going to move that concert. So again, they had moved it. Okay. That was the first time they moved it, but it looks like they're going to move it again. So hopefully we'll be able to do the live show on the first Thursday of next month, just like we normally do. So hopefully no scheduling no scheduling conflicts there, but we will keep you up to date on our Facebook and Twitter feeds if anything changes. So, but we hope that you all have a great rest of your month. Be kind to others, stay safe, and don't get out until you feel comfortable with getting out. And do what you can to, like I said, not get this virus. And hopefully we can see you all back here next month on the first Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Tim, great talking to you as always. Look forward to seeing you in person soon. Everybody else, we'll see you next time. Take care and good night.
All right.